Starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Boynton Beach City Commissioners meeting today, Tuesday, January 5th, 2021, at 5:31 p.m. at our new City Hall Commission chambers located at 100 East Ocean Avenue. I'd like to have a brief introduction from Alan, followed by an invocation by our Vice Mayor, Ty Pensergo, also the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor Grant. This is Alan. Hello and welcome. I'll be providing assistance to the mayor and elected officials during today's meeting. Before we start, I'd like to review a few housekeeping items so the public audience knows how to participate. Your microphones have been muted to reduce background noise during this public meeting. There will be specific times during this meeting when members of the public can participate by using the GoToWebinar interface. The first way is by typing their question into the questions section at the bottom of the interface. Those items will be read into the record by a meeting organizer at the appropriate time. The second way is by clicking on the raise hand icon indicating that they wish to speak. A meeting organizer will announce the speaker at the appropriate time and unmute their audio, at which time the speaker should state their name for the record. The speaker should minimize any sources of background noise and speak clearly into your device during their allotted time. I will now turn control over to Mayor Stephen Grant, who will be presiding over today's meeting.
Thank you very much. Would everyone please rise for Vice Mayor Pensergo?
Heavenly Father, we ask that you come into our lives to give us the strength and the peace to do what is right, to clear our minds, to guide our hearts, the strength to have the courage to fight the evils of this world, near and far. We need you. We thank you for all that you have done, for the blessings you have brought into our families. And we ask that you give us a sense of spirit to bring revival to our city, to bring us into a new generation, into a new time of renewed strength. We thank you, and we are in awe of your power. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Stephen B. Grant.
Present.
Vice Mayor Ty Pensergo. Commissioner Justin Katz.
Here.
Commissioner Woodrow Hay.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Ramos.
This is here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda. I'd like to add to the city manager's report a couple of the new hirees to the city of Boynton Beach. In addition, I think there's a couple more announcements of the different events that are going on in the city of Boynton Beach, including the Crowns and Swords exhibition, the food distribution, and the reading log challenge at our library. So if there's no other additions, deletions, or corrections, may I have a motion to approve it as amended?
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All right, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. All right. Moving on to informational items by members of the City Commission. Commissioner Katz, would you like to begin?
Nothing to disclose at this time other than Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Hay?
Again, nothing to disclose. Happy New Year, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the holidays.
Commissioner Romulus?
Yes, Happy New Year as well to everybody. I did speak to a few individuals, so I want to make sure I disclose that. I spoke to Steve Skaggs, owner of Two Georges, spoke to Jim Knight. I've spoken to Bonnie Miskell regarding the Legacy Progress project that's on the agenda tonight, all those individuals. I also attended the I do not remember the name of the group, but the coalition, the Business Owners Coalition, headed by Kim Kelly. I attended that event as well. Those are all the disclosures I have for now. Thank you.
And Vice Mayor Pensurga.
Thank you, Mayor. I have similar disclosures. I spoke with Bonnie Miskell, Steve Skaggs, Jim Knight. I also attended the Downtown Business Coalition meeting. I made it to the second half. It was a great meeting. I also just want to add that my prayers are with those that were recently affected, the victims and their families of the recent gun violence we had in the city during the holiday season. Gun violence has no place or should have no place in our city, or any city for that matter. And I can only imagine the pain that these families are going through, especially during the holidays. When people just want to be with their friends and family, that is the last thing that they expect. So my prayers are with them.
All right, thank you. As for myself, on December 16th, I attended the mayor's call led by Mayor Scott Singer of the city of Boca Raton. I believe that he's going to be the mayor-elect for the Florida League of Mayors. On the 17th, I attended the Transportation Planning Agency meeting with also going to our utilities luncheon and at the p.m.on virtual ribbon cutting. p.m.on is a Peruvian and Colombian restaurant. It's delicious. Encourage our residents to try it out. On the 18th, I spoke with Clinton Forbes, the director of PalmTran, about how do we better utilize the funding for our PalmTran connection and fixed routes. On the 19th, I attended an MMA fight at Museum 66 in the city of Boynton Beach, and spoke with the promoter there and showed him around our new downtown. And he said he was very excited about having a martial arts exhibition and our amphitheater and possibly an MMA night fight at our Arts and Cultural Center. So that was very exciting to hear. I had a meeting with Hatsala, which is a nonprofit first emergency service organization. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I echo the sentiments of our Vice Mayor. You know, the aspect of the Sarah Sims or any sort of community park, you know, what is the protocol in place when we know the protocol in place if there's one event of 200 people, but we don't have something if there is, you know, 20 groups of 10. And so hopefully the police department will have better procedures when it gets fully, that Sarah Sims Parks is full, and we want to make sure that everyone is safe, and we want our police department to be proactive, not reactive. As for the 26th, wish everyone a happy Kwanzaa and Boxing Day. I want to thank my neighbors for letting me know it would hit midnight on New Year's Eve. And, you know, it's kind of been quiet ever since. So I would like to thank them for not telling me that it's the 2nd and 3rd. So I think everyone did a great job with the fireworks. On the 31st, I played golf with John Markey and Jeff Johnson of JKM Developers. On the 4th, I attended the Downtown Business Coalition for Better Brighton Boynton Beach. And I spoke to a bunch of different individuals for the Legacy Project, Steve Skaggs, Jim Knight, Betty Bingham, Bonnie Miskell, a few emails as well. And I believe that is it for my informational disclosures. If there's nothing else, I'll be moving on to announcements. Our first announcement is to proclaim January 12, 2021 as Haitian Earthquake Memorial Day. Jane Marcel will accept the proclamation. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas on January 12, 2010 at 4:53 p.m., the worst earthquake in 200 years hit Haiti and caused a widespread devastation across the country. The earthquake resulted in not only the loss of buildings, but killed more than 300,000 people and left more than 1.5 million homeless. And whereas the earthquake in Haiti not only affected the lives of those living in Haiti, it also had an impact on residents of the city, state, and country. And whereas on this day, we remember and honor those who perished in the earthquake of January 12, 2010. We will never forget the horrific day, nor will we forget how the American people and the world responded with compassion and generosity, prayer and hope for the Haitian people. Our obligation to ensure a better Haiti will not be forgotten. And whereas this amnesty of tragedy should also be an anniversary of triumph of unity over divisiveness, love over hate, service over selfishness, and hope over despair. Whereas we should demonstrate our respect for the victims of this terrible day by commemorating the lives lost and damage caused. We should also honor and celebrate the acts of resilience, courage, compassion, and many other qualities that represent the best in human nature and the Haitian character. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim January 12, 2021 as Haitian Earthquake Memorial Day.
Okay.
Jane?
Very well. Can you hear me?
And
Right. Good afternoon, Mayor Grant, commissioners, and all of you who have made this moment possible. My name is Jane Marcel. I'm a member of several community organizations and also of the Greater Boynton Beach Sister City. I am honored to receive the proclamation in remembrance of the day almost 11 years ago, that January 12, 2010, when the earth shook so hard that it changed the course of many in Haiti and around the world. Many lives were lost. Churches, buildings, bridges, and streets are gone. Landscapes flattened. Thank you, City of Boynton Beach, for the opportunity to reflect what that moment meant for me. When the news exploded like a bomb that shook the whole community of Palm Beach County, the United States, and the whole world. At the time, I was a senior executive community advisor to Major Joseph Bernadel at Toussaint Louverture High School. The school at the time was located on Gateway Boulevard. The school immediately opened its international phone line to the Haitian community who wanted to know the fate of their family members. It was chaotic in Haiti. Lines were down, connection was difficult. I remember seeing that little girl on CNN. She must have been 7 years old. Her lower body was crushed by a large piece of slab. She was saying to her mother, "Mommy, don't let me die. I don't want to die, Mommy." They finally removed the slab and she died on the way to the hospital in the Dominican Republic. A few days later, the school organized a vigil. Thousands of people, including representatives of the leadership of Palm Beach County, came to share their sorrows with the Haitian people affected by such and sudden disaster. With candles, they prayed for the victims, for the dead, and for the injured. They donated food, clothing, and money. The city allowed its fire station to become receiving site. It was refreshing to see so many people of goodwill in action. Many counties' employees donated money from their salary. Teachers, students, and almost everyone took a very active part in assisting as they could. City of Boynton Beach, thank you for your generosity and contribution. During the ecumenical service held in Delray, the Jewish rabbi asked, "Where was God at this moment?" If we were surprised at first by the theme, his message of healing and God loves captured the crowd gathered in prayers. I had prepared the whole program and tolled the bell at exactly the time the earth had shaken. I remember that well-dressed Chinese man who got off his limousine, walking with a cane. He came to me at the school. He handed me his checkbook and told me to write a check. He will sign it. I asked him what amount he wishes to donate. He said, write any amount you want. To joke, I said, okay, I will write $10,000. He said, go ahead, and he signed the check. I kept wondering still today why I did not write $50,000. Thank you, sir. City of Boynton Beach, I want to use this platform to thank a dear friend of Haiti, philanthropist Frank McKinney, for his generosity and contribution to the country. I want to acknowledge his prompt response in sending the first emergency responders to Haiti. His actions saved many lives. Thank you, sir. Thank you to you, all firemen. We will never forget your courage and assistance. Thank you, Israel, for sending your troop to the rescue from far geographical location. They were among the first to arrive. They rescued many people under the debris, including several Israelis living in Haiti. Haiti, a founding member of the United Nations organization, casted on May 1948 the deciding vote that made Israel a nation. Thank you to you, all nations that have contributed, doctors, nurses, first aid, and so forth. And especially to you, people of the city of Boynton Beach. You always stand by Haiti in bad times, and one day you will stand by her in good times. Haiti is a woman for us Haitian. She has a full name. Her name is Haiti Thomas. In the following days after the strike, the city of Boynton Beach saw one night the emergence of a movement, the Haitian diaspora's willingness to shape the destiny of this country. The Haitian Diaspora Organization was founded when a group of friends drove from Miami to meet a few of us at the school to discuss the fate of Haiti after the quake. That group extended into an international coalition. Later, the organization was included in the reconstruction's discussion at the international level. I participated in my own capacity as the office chief of staff of Major Bernadette, who had become the representative of the Haitian Diaspora Organization. I then worked 24/7 behind the scene. My phone had never stopped ringing. I was included in many international conferences and in many activities regarding the reconstruction of Haiti on its behalf. Unfortunately, statistics shows that only 1% of all the international funds collected on behalf of Haiti went to Haiti. I visited Haiti 6 months later. I was hurt by the destruction that was all over. The sister city members visited Haiti twice. No word to express our feeling. Haiti is still showing signs of distress. Yes, people of Boynton Beach, I'm grateful. On behalf of Haiti, the community here, and the Greater Boynton Beach Sister City, I gladly accept this proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
You're welcome.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Romulus.
thank you. I just want to take a few moments of privilege just to speak on this proclamation, as this has been a proclamation that I've requested for the commission to approve. And thank you all. Thanks to my colleagues for continuing to approve this proclamation yearly. I am a Haitian American. I was actually born in Haiti. I came to America when I was 6 years old. And so, you know, this country and this proclamation is of course a lot more touching than just a piece of paper with words on it. But what I want to do today is just highlight on the successes of that day of January 12th, 2010 and what came out of it. One example that I want to highlight is a young lady named Jessula. She goes by JJ, and she was a survivor of that earthquake that day, and shortly after was able to come to America. Since then, this young lady has just shown such immense fortitude and strength. Went to Atlantic High School, graduated top of her class, and now just graduated from Florida State University. And I'm extremely proud of her, and she is just one of the many numerous millions of examples of the Haitian community and the Haitian people and our strength and our resilience, time and time again against whatever adversity and odds that come against us. So, in light of this proclamation and in light of the sadness that is always remembered, I always want to make sure I take a moment to also highlight the acts of bravery, the acts of strength, and resilience that we continue to see in our Haitian community and the Haitian people. The other thing I want to highlight as well, and I hope to bring a proclamation for this next year. We just weren't able to find it in time, but I would like to request that the city proclaim next year, January 1st, as Haitian Independence Day. And this is a huge day. And for any of you who maybe pay attention to social media, you might have seen a lot of bowls of orange soup scrolling through your timeline. And that is a traditional meal that Haitians eat. Just to give you a little history on Haitian Independence Day, Haiti was the first country to receive its independence, or to take, rather, its independence from slavery, and establish itself as a free country, free man and woman country. And the tradition of eating soup jumu, which is that orange soup that you may have seen as you scrolled through your timeline on January 1st. That tradition basically came from the fact that the slave masters did not allow the slaves to eat or drink that soup. It was only a soup of privilege for the elite and the owners. And so that day, when the Haitian people received their independence, they enjoyed soup jumu to the extreme and have always. And is a global and not just a national holiday. It's a global holiday. Haitians who live everywhere around the world share in this tradition of eating soup jumu all day, and leftovers for many days after that too. So it's something I definitely love to share my culture and my background with this community, because of course, as we continue to grow and live in this melting pot, the more we know about each other, the more inclusive we can be to each other and be better citizens of the world towards each other. So that's what I wanted to share. Again, I want to thank my colleagues for supporting this proclamation, and I look forward to a prosperous and wonderful 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Romulus. And yes, I definitely would be in favor of that. We want to celebrate diversity here in Boynton Beach. Our next proclamation.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Hay.
I just want to be very brief, but I do want to say on behalf of Boynton Beach, I'm honored to be a part of this. I support it wholeheartedly. I'd just like to say that since you mentioned January 1st, as many of you know, this United States got their independence in 1776, but it wasn't until 1863 before the African American got their freedom. And so we celebrate that too on January the 1st as the Emancipation Proclamation. So it is good to know of each other's culture and where we've come from, so that we can appreciate each other and move forward from this point and working together to make a better Boynton and a better America. So thank you, Commissioner Romulus. I will continue to pray and work with you through the Florida East Coast Baptist Association, which I'm a part of. And we've been supplying Haiti with books and helping to build churches through Reverend Bentley Thomas. You may not know him, but I would like to talk with you offline with more that we can do and will do. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Commissioner. Thank you.
And yes, speaking of Haiti, been in talks with Clinic Franfred, and I think we as the City Commission really need to work better with our sister cities organization. We have a sister city in Lakai, Haiti. I spoke with their new mayor, and they are also in need of assistance. So next time that if we have the ability to help our sister city, I'd like to be able to do that. All right. Moving on to Monday, January 18, 2020, as Martin Luther King Jr. Day. City of Boynton Beach Proclamation. Whereas January 18, 2020 marks the observance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday, whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. devoted his life to advancing equality, social justice, and opportunity for all, and challenged all Americans to participate in the never-ending work of building a more perfect union. And whereas celebrating Dr. King's life and spirit through community-wide recognitions and service on the holiday in an appropriate way to honor Dr. King, bringing our citizens together and strengthening our communities and nation. And whereas it is appropriate for the City of Boynton Beach to provide the educational initiatives for its youth, recognize community members that emulate the qualities of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and plan a I Have a Dream event for August 28, 2021, in the observance of the holiday honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas each of us can and must contribute to making our communities better with increased opportunity for all of our citizens, and whereas the City of Boynton Beach urges all people to join and pay tribute to the life and works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and apply his life and teachings of service to inspire others to serve and remember his spirit of community. Now, therefore, I, Stephen B. Grant, Mayor of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, hereby proclaim the 18th day of January 2021 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I believe Mr. Alexandria Wilson will accept the proclamation.
Mayor Grant, this is Alan from ITS. I do not see that individual listed in the attendees list at the moment. So,
On the screen.
oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Alexandra Wilson, and on behalf of the MLK community, I would like to thank Mayor Grant and the City Commission on this day of recognizing Dr. Martin Luther King. I ask that everyone on January 18th, they go out and spread love and unity all throughout Boynton Beach. Thank you, and I'm Alexandra Wilson again.
Thank you. And I believe Eleanor will probably have us an update on the MLK events coming up. Lori?
Yes, Alan, is she muted?
Okay, no, I've got it right now. Thank you, Alan. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. For the record, Eleanor Crucell, Public Communications and Marketing Director. Although we cannot celebrate Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Day as we originally planned with a large-scale event at Sarah Sims Park this year, the MLK Committee has thoughtfully discussed alternatives and have decided upon 4 initiatives for 2021. The first one is to expand its community awards. In the past few years, we have given awards in the category of business, individual, and nonprofit. This year, the committee has decided to add 2 categories, Educator of the Year and Youth Nominee of the Year. These will be announced on Facebook on MLK Day, January 18th. And in addition, the MLK committee will highlight those that were nominated as well. The second initiative that they determined would be good for our COVID situation and new this year would be educational programs that will be provided through our city library. In addition, history displays will be created and showcased in our library. The committee will work closely with the recreation facilities and the Schoolhouse Museum to provide additional opportunities.
We are distributing children's complimentary books about MLK through our local vendor, Pyramid Bookstore. The committee will also work with local schools to encourage educational components within their current curriculum. And lastly, we are going to increase our marketing efforts, and the new initiatives this year include 2 I-95 billboards and 4 digital marquees. And I believe Alan had a picture of a sample just for you to see what we are utilizing. The committee has voted on quotes that are important to them. So each of these billboards and digital marquees will have a quote that will change every week during this month. And we'll increase our social media posts, and we have developed a dedicated page on our website, boynton-beach.org/MLK, as well as a pop-up box on our website. And lastly, we want you to mark your calendars a year in advance, so to speak, for a 6 months in advance for a I Have a Dream Unity event at Sarah Sims Park on Saturday, August 28th. And the MLK committee and subcommittees will be planning this event after MLK Day. And that's it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the commission? Seeing none. Our next is an announcement from Feeding South Florida Food Distribution Drive-Through events at the Ezel Hester Center, 1901 North Seacrest Boulevard on January on the 7th, 14th, 21st, 2020, starting at 8 a.m. There will be approximately 500 food vouchers available on a first-come, first-served while food supplies last at each event. Volunteer opportunities are available. Anyone interested in volunteering must register at www.volunteer.feedingsouthflorida.org. In addition, we are going to have a new event on Thursday called Crowns and Swords at our new City Hall. It will be a showcase of some of the new events or new activities here at our Arts and Cultural Center, including chess and fencing. In addition, our library has started our adult reading challenge to read 10 books between now and by the end of March. Anyone who would like to participate can pick up the program at the library. I believe that is it. If nothing else, if there's no other announcements, we will move on to public audience. Individual speakers will be limited to 3-minute presentations. Please state your name and address at the beginning. And go to the microphone to your left.
Hello. Okay. Good evening, Iman Kareem, 214 Northeast 3rd Street, Boynton Beach. Just for the record, I just wanted to say hello to all the commissioners and the mayor, Mr. Mayor. Hopefully you guys had a great holiday and a happy new year. As most of you guys know, my name is Iman Kareem. I'm the founder of ABPAC, which stands for American Bangladesh Public Affairs Committee, and also a local CRA business for security camera team here in Boynton Beach. Some of you guys know that ABPAC took the initiative this past year when the funds were not that great for Sarah Sims Park, that we went and decorated with the holiday lights. I hope all the communities that's surrounding enjoy the lights and the festivities to give some meaning of Christmas and the holidays for everybody. And we look forward to doing it again with your permission at a greater scale. We learned our mistakes this year, and hopefully we can continue and be part of that in the future. The reason I came here is because I want to invite the city commissioners and the mayor and all the citizens of Boynton Beach to come join us at our 3rd annual International Mother Language Day. We have submitted a permit for a small gathering, which is also a hybrid festival that's going to be webcast. And so throughout the world and throughout the nation, people could celebrate this International Mother Language Day. So some of us might ask, what is International Mother's Language Day? Well, it's a day that is recognized by the UN UNESCO as a sanctioned holiday that is held on every February 21st of every year. It represents a day in reflection to all fallen ordinary citizens of Bangladesh that fought to protect their mother language. We were the only country that went into war to protect our mother language. After millions of people that have died and this effort, UNESCO made it official in 2000 to the world that no country has the right to discriminate against someone that speaks a different language. It falls back to what February stands for, Black History Month. It stands for a lot of reasons why we should not discriminate, whether it's your color, your religion, and especially your mother language. So this is the day that we reflect on and try to remember the people that sacrificed and made it possible for the world to recognize that, hey, what I speak, what I say is my mother language, and everybody should respect that and try to have a diversity and unity within the community. Just to let you know what happened here in America in 2020, we saw the racial divide, and do I have to stop?
Yeah, if you'd like to finish up though.
Okay.
Please be brief.
Yeah, so make it really short. We saw the racial divide, and now it's time for Boynton Beach and the citizens to unite. We appreciate the proclamation that we got last year. So without your blessings from the commissioners, this is not going to be possible. Obviously, this will be maintained by the CDC and the guidelines that we have. And together, we could show that from our differences, we could learn our similarities. So we're inviting you once again on February 21st. We would like to have the monument, which is called the Shoed Minar, be placed at the park a week before and a week after, because of the COVID, that people could come and celebrate their own languages, whether you're from Haiti. And we're going to award a couple of teachers that are language arts teachers that are here in the city of Boynton Beach, their schools, to show the recognitions that they take the time to show diversity to all the children, so then we can learn about each other. And we hope that you will attend, and we're asking permission that if we could have the Shoed Minar the week before and up to the week after from ABPAC. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a brief question. Would
Okay.
that be all right? You mentioned the statue. Could you just describe it to us? And is it a temporary statue? Is it mobile? Could you just tell us about it?
Yes, thank you. This is an international statue that's been designed and has been implemented in Bangladesh, and also obviously the embassy. This is a statue that's made out of wood. It's a structure, and it will be fastened to the ground from not moving. And it's a temporary statue. We will place it. We will remove it. And this will be located to the left side of the amphitheater, where there's trees there, and it's just going to be there for whoever wants to come. For example, my dad fought in that, and he died last year. So it's a meaningful thing for me that I'm able to speak my language, and now the world could have the right to speak their language, and we could show the diversity and the unity in the city of Boynton Beach if we work together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work you're doing.
I have no objections for the 2 weeks that it would be up there, provided that there's insurance for that temporary structure.
Mayor,
Yes, we
if
do
I
have,
may,
insurance in place where the city is also additionally insured. That's already been given to Mrs. Mary regarding the event, and we have no problem keeping that on.
Yes.
Mayor, may I ask that staff have an opportunity to review that, please, for liability and safety purposes in terms of storm-related issues or stability and so forth?
Correct.
We'll consider that as part of the application for the special event.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a question. And I've been on vacation and it's been the holidays, but did we not have a discussion item that'll come back at some time regarding monuments or structures at public facilities? Or is that's still an open topic that city staff is going to get back to us on, correct?
Yeah, but I think this is temporary, so this is not going to be permanent, similar to a Christmas tree. It's only there for 2 weeks.
Do we have any existing policy that describes or allows for individuals or individual parties to erect temporary structures on government property to reference?
Do we have any that says that it's not allowed? So if you'd like to object, you're more than welcome to.
I'm not objecting. I'm just asking if this is something that exists any rules or precedent, and if not, that to me would be part of our discussion about temporary or permanent structures, because again, per the conversation on what we talked about last time, temporary or otherwise, if we don't have any rules, then that means anyone can do anything, or that we would be biased if we were to accept or reject anyone's request on a case-by-case basis. So I'm just looking for an understanding of what is or is not permitted, and if there's no rules, we would probably want to create rules so that we weren't just making up local rules as we go along as a body.
Absolutely. Yes, Commissioner Hay.
I don't have any objections against the temporary erection of this monument, but like Commissioner Katz is saying, my understanding at this stage is that it is with legal, and they're going to bring us back a report on their findings, and that discussion as far as what is allowed or not allowed will be part of that discussion. So where I am right now is that we allowed it last year. I recall it being there, and I don't have any objection because they did keep it neat, and we met the insurance piece of it. They did take it down and left the grounds in good order. So I don't have any problems with it doing it again, but I would like to expedite to some degree some kind of ruling from the legal department in the future as to where we are.
Absolutely. And so we'll put that as the future agenda. Hopefully by February, we can get that back.
And Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. And again, just like Commissioner Hayes said, it's not that I have any objection to this or any other potential content, but just thinking back to incidents that happened down in Boca Raton a few years back with public displays and memorials on public property, and an individual kind of challenged the norms by placing a devil kind of, anarchist type symbol on public property to prove that, rules should exist. So that's only where I'm coming from, just to make sure we shape the edges of whatever might come, so it's not open for anyone to abuse. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. And I do have some people online. Kim Kelly.
Yes.
You have
yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good evening. First I wanted to say I also remember that day of Haiti, as 8 of my employees came from Haiti and still have family there. The great citizens of Boynton Beach got together and donated clothes, money, and food to send to these employees' families. So I want to thank Christina for coming forward and bringing this to light and giving that proclamation. But I'm here tonight to Kim Kelly, by the way, sorry, of the Downtown Business Coalition coordinator, also owner of Hurricane Alley, 529 East Ocean Avenue. I just want to give a quick update on our progress. Last night, we had our second meeting and are currently have 36 members. We are pleased that Christina Ramles, Ty Penzerga, and Mike Simon joined us on Zoom, and Mayor Stephen Grant was there in person. Our goal is to make sure our survival and future as business owners can survive the new development that will ultimately be upon us. We spoke about the issues of the Legacy Project. Many members from the 640 Plaza and surrounding businesses and homes have many concerns. We also talked about the new social events, which are new and exciting, And it's basically to savor the avenue to where we have social distancing, many tables down Ocean Avenue, and just samplings from many restaurants in that area. I think this is something that we can do as an event coming in maybe the next few months, and I'm more than happy to put this event together as I've hosted many block parties in the past. We're also hoping that we can have the support of the city and the CRA, maybe in assisting in a grant or something so we can promote the downtown of Boynton Beach. We also discussed the possibility of keeping the tree lights that are so beautiful down in Dewey Park. There's been so many people that have made comments on them, and online have been saying that that would be lovely to see that all year round. It also provides security, and we're just waiting patiently for the back parking lot to be paved so we can let our customers come and park close to us and not have to walk very far distances, which I was assured that it would start at the beginning of January. So if that could just be looked at and be sure that it's still on track, we would really appreciate that. But again, we appreciate all the support that we're getting. We know that we don't have a Chamber of Commerce or a downtown authority. So I guess we're trying to kind of stepping in and trying to help out. So again, we're here to help. We're not here to hinder, and we appreciate everybody's support. Thank you.
Thank you. And in regards to the lights, are we able to extend the contract for a couple months until, let's say, maybe Easter?
I'll check with Mike Simon. I think they contracted that out separately from our light program.
Okay.
Eleanor, if I'm wrong, pipe in, but we can certainly check with the CRA, and I imagine the vendor may be happy to do that. So we'll check for you.
Okay. And then also for Kim, I think, closing down Ocean Avenue, it is within the city's rights because it is a city-owned street. And hopefully we'll have a conversation about the different events, because I know that there is money in the budget for plazas, and we'll see what we can do within the CDC guidelines.
Yeah, and with that event, we're also looking to have roaming musicians and vendors that can be spread out, and and do it in a safe and COVID today way, so to speak.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Romulus.
Thank you. I just wanted to make a quick comment, just to correct the record. Technically, I guess the city does still have a chamber in terms of we've merged with the Boca Chamber, so that is still a partnership that's present and active. So, members of the business community can still participate there. And, I just wanted to also thank Kim and also the other members of the coalition who are, bringing their voices together. As I said in my interview yesterday with WPTV, I believe, the voices of the many always outnumber the voice of one. So it's important to hear the concerns of our business community and where they stand on certain things. Doesn't always mean that, things will go the way that they want, but it's always important to, of course, voice those concerns and let us as leaders hear them and understand where people are coming from. So I just want to thank Kim and, for kind of getting some of these business owners together and to collectively hear what they have to say. That's all I want to contribute. I do want to lend my support as well for keeping the lights up permanently. I think that would be a beautiful addition to downtown.
Thank you. I believe next we have Margaret Newton, and I will unmute your microphone. And it says you're currently self-muted.
Am I still muted?
I hear you loud and clear.
Good. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Margaret Newton, and I and my friends want to thank the city, and I do not know whom to thank, for the beautiful Kwanzaa activity that you had next to, I think it was the menorah, etc. It is wonderful to see the diversity finally being highlighted within our city. And as a Kwanzaa lover and Kwanzaa practicer, and a person who promotes Kwanzaa worldwide. The city of Boynton Beach has done us proud. Thank you. And who do I thank for that?
I believe it's our marketing department.
Thank you, marketing department. I know some of the people through the MLK committee meetings that I've been attending. And so thank you, marketing department. Beautiful job. And I wanted you to know that it is appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Newton. See anyone else with their hand raised? I believe next we have Steve Skaggs who would like to speak. I have unmuted you. Mr. Skaggs?
Thank you. Yes, I actually wanted to speak when we got to the legacy of Boynton Beach. For some reason, my wave hand button is not showing up on my screen. So maybe I could wait till then if possible.
Okay. Thank you. I'll make sure to give you an opportunity at public hearing. Ms. Sandra Harvey, your microphone is on.
Yes, hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening. Happy New Year to everyone. I am excited about all the great things that are going on in the city of Boynton Beach. However, I am concerned about the recent violence, and I do appreciate Mr. Ty bringing that up and offering his prayers and condolences to the families that were affected by the violence. I don't want that to be ignored. We do need to address that because it really does affect the entire city. And I appreciate that being recognized. I don't want us to move forward without at least taking time to acknowledge that we need to address those issues as we move forward. I'm excited about the progress that we are making, but please don't let it go by without us trying to make some type of effort to bridge the gap between the community and the police. The gap that we have going on. I'm hoping that maybe we can make plans to have some type of a meet and greet, something that we can bridge the gap between the communication that we have with the police, the police department and the community. Once again, with the Heart of Boynton. I'm with the Heart of Boynton, the vice president of the Heart of Boynton, and I'm really concerned about that. So I'm really hoping that there's something else that we can do so that we don't see that again. I hadn't seen that much violence go on. I'm really concerned about that. So I'm hoping that maybe we can all get together and maybe put together a meet and greet of some form that might be able to help out in some way, because I'd hate to see all this beauty and all of the events that we have be deterred by the violence that I'm seeing. I don't want us to have that be a tarnish in what we have going on with the progress that we have right now.
Thank you for that. And I think, we have our neighborhood officer program, and hopefully the CRA will be able to give the enhanced police effort this year. And so I look forward to working with you. Please let me know how I can be for any of assistance in the future. All right.
Mayor.
Yes.
If I may, I just want to say to Ms. Harvey and to everybody else listening that I also want to extend my hand. Gun violence is something that troubles me. Growing up, it's mass shootings is always in the back of my mind, whether I'm in the movie theater, the mall, wherever I may be. But I'd also like to say the following, gun violence can come from many places. Obviously, some of it can be domestic. But from what I'm hearing, a lot of the recent events, I'm not going to speak to any particular case. I'll leave that for the police chief. But I'm hearing that a lot of these individuals, and they are to blame. They are the root cause of the problem. But a lot of them are coming from other cities. And whether they're coming from somewhere up north or somewhere south, and they're meeting up in Boynton, that is one of the biggest problems. And so at some point in this meeting, or perhaps in the next, I would love to hear from our police chief Are we working with other police departments, and what kind of progress are we making towards that end? We can't solve every problem, but if we inherit other cities' problems, that's how's that helping anybody? So if there's anything that can be done, I would love to know with that respect. I also want to say that part of the issue of what happened recently during the holidays was that we had an unpermitted event. And I understand that sometimes, or a lot of times, it's spread through social media. You tell your friends and they tell some other people, and all of a sudden they come in, and pretty soon now there are hundreds of people when there shouldn't be. And so if there's anything we can do to be more aggressive in tamping down or clamping down on these spontaneous large-scale events, without a permit, when it's not coordinated, we don't have enough security planned for it, and we have no idea where some of these people are coming, and so if it had been coordinated and planned and they had sufficient security, they controlled the numbers, we may have been able to deter some of these individuals wherever they may be coming from. And so I think those are the two aspects about this that I'm interested to hear from our police department.
Yes. Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe our next person that was able to speak is Vanessa Belmont. You have been unmuted.
Hi, thank you. My name is Vanessa Belmonte. I am currently a Delray Beach resident moving to Boynton Beach on January 13th. So very excited to be joining your community, and saw the news yesterday and was immediately sprung into action and inspired by the committee who is organizing to maybe preserve some of this incredible downtown space and even open up the discussion about what it could be to see a green space that actually people can walk in instead of just building another condo. So I just want to say, unfortunately, I can't stay for the part that addresses this meeting later on because I'm actually going to our condo association orientation right there at Marina Village. But I just want to say that I'm part of joining the committee, and we'd love to see if we can get an extension on the zoning decision. That way, myself and a few others with some great experience with fundraising, community building, marketing, and law can potentially put together a plan to say, hey, let's build a green space. Let's have a park where people can walk their children or dogs along the water, because Boynton Beach doesn't have it. But think about Lake Worth. If you look at their example, they have a great one that ends right in the downtown area, and it really increases and encourages that foot traffic and that engagement. So would love to just extend my support to Kim and the other team who's putting this together and helping kind of raise awareness of maybe we should rethink how much property we're selling off to developers, and really think about the community and what it needs and how it can continue to thrive in the future. And let's make different decisions. Unfortunately, we're leaving Delray after 35 years because it's just too many condos. It's too much development. Like, what about the community? What about the spaces, the green spaces that could be possible? There's so much examples around us in Florida alone, and I'd love to bring that to light and be a part of this next stage and how we can just stand out a little and be different and attract a different kind of momentum and engagement within our community. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we have some more people with their hand raised. I have Stephanie Hayden Adeyemo. If you'd like to speak, your microphone is live.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Dr. Stephanie Hayden Adeyemo. That's Hayden Adeyemo, 2181 Southwest 15th Avenue, Condo N102, Boynton Beach, Florida, 33426. Just to piggyback off the last public comment about green spaces, I ran for mayor of the city almost 2 years ago, and one of my tenets on my platform was responsible economic development. And I believe I mentioned again about the amount of concrete that has ballooned over in District, I believe that's District 2 on the other side of the Boynton Beach bridge by around where Target is, Marina Village, where the young lady was speaking about. And it's unfortunate. I believe there was a park, but a dog park that was erected in honor of a fallen police officer that died unexpectedly, I believe of a heart attack. And I believe that's there, but there is the canal. So where would you create a park there? And so we have a lot of concrete that's just everywhere in our city. And our city was literally, to me, by the doing of the commissioner, that some of them that are currently there now, and those that are no longer there, selling out the city to the highest bidder. And so if you look at the current space that we see, the parking lots now for the city cars, those were supposed to be developers and sold out again to the city. And look, what are we looking at? Concrete, blankness, right? You have a park that was created on a major busy Seacrest across from the library. I mean, what was the thought put into that, right? So again, we're trying to build communities here in Boynton, not concrete jungles. And I rest my point there.
Thank you for your comments.
Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a clarification for anybody attending the meeting. The project later on in the agenda is a privately owned piece of property. So the city does not own that, and it is a private developer in possession of a piece of land coming to the city. Just to clarify some of the comments about the city selling out or the putting green space there, it is a private piece of property, to clarify.
I believe that's Mr. Katz that just spoke. I'm again, we're going to hear pushback from certain commissioners that are present tonight because
Mayor, I wasn't trying to have a discussion during public comment. I was just making.
Again, I'm not. Can I speak? Because I don't think my 3 minutes is up yet.
You stopped speaking. I apologize if you were not done. I assumed you were.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. I'm stating on the record the statements that I made. You can fact check those, whether we're not discussing that per se right now. I'm following up from the young lady that just spoke. Notice I prefaced that when I made my comments. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I see next hand raised from Bernard Wright. Let's see, there we go. Yeah, Mr. Wright, it says you're self-muted if you'd like to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Good evening, this is Bishop Bernard Wright, President of the Community Review Board, CEO of Bernard Wright Ministries, Real Talk Radio, and the Robert E. Wells Foundation. As a community advocate, I would just like to speak in regards to what is really going on in the demonstration of, for justice and equality, and that is especially racial justice and equality. I want to speak about the Sarah Sims Park and the violence and the recent death. And we do commend everyone who have, participated and given their condolences to the families. These are isolated incidents that we have all over the world. Every city experienced them. We have no control over them. And we're talking about a public park that anyone in the community or even outside the community can come anytime they want to, no matter how many come. Though, astronomical numbers, to God be the glory. But this was not an event. It's something they do in the city of Boynton. Know they do this every Christmas, New Year's. Everybody just come out. Now they come from other cities. We understand that having social media that increases that, enhances the, the attendance and things of that nature. Since we know that, we should just prepare for that. And just as you cooperated in the protest is still going on. There's been no change, and we do need to come around the table. The mayor, the chief of police, and all of us financial advisors and all, that include David Scott and everyone else. We haven't come to try and do anything about what's going on in respect to having, justice and equality, and what we need to do to try to curb gun violence. You can't stop something you have no control of. But inside of our community, there are things that we can do, and coming together to try and put some things in place for preventive measures, such as we have not even done anything about how we execute warrants here, how our police departments still conduct themselves around in District 2, and how we are being still, racially trampled upon. To God be the glory. And this is the truth of the matter. We haven't come together. You cooperated with us in the protest to walk around the streets from Congress all the way back to the, you understand, Sarah Sims Park. But that did not solve anything, has not resolved anything. Now, I do have a solution, I believe, and to curbing gun violence here in District 2. As your current candidate for mayor of this district come 2022, believe me, I'm asking that we all will set a date, and Mayor Grant and Commissioner Hay and all the other commissioners there, Katz and Christina Romulus and Tap and Serga, let's come together. Let all of us of the 501c3 and community leaders here come together with you all around the table and see what we can come together and have a conversation on how we not only can quell this gun violence, but what can we do to just really make a difference in our economic development and the change of our character and state of mind, and how we treat one another, to have respect for one another inside of not only District 2, this community, but the city of Boynton Beach, period. We do have a legacy.
If you'd like
Yes.
to wrap it up, I would appreciate it.
Okay, well, I thank you so very much. And I see you didn't interfere with anyone else, and you're the only one that's ever had me try to escort me out of a meeting. But thank God you are out of there come 2022. However, respect is everything. But let me tell you this here. As everyone who was given the courtesy and respect to speak, allow me to, by the grace of God. If you want to respect my bishop, you respect my manhood, first off, and who I am, and having a legacy in this country and in this city. God bless you. And I'm just saying, my man, you're out of there 2022. You're still a person. You still got to cross one another's path. Do it with respect. I've allowed you to come in here and have great respect, even into my living room and in my kitchen with your dog. Don't stop respecting me. To God be the glory. Now, I'm asking you all to come together and let's have a dialogue and a conversation about this, or nothing will solve it otherwise. Bless God. I got the solution by the grace of God. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Again, get in place, Mayor Grant.
All right. Thank you so much for your comments. And is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Labonte. I'm president of SCT Technologies, 214 Northeast 3rd Street. Just after the recent violence that happened over at Sarah Sims Park, I would just like to introduce our company, let you know that we're a local Boynton Beach security camera company, and we like to help out any way we can with local law enforcement, with the city, or with any private owners of businesses who would like our services or would like us to assist them in extra surveillance throughout the city. And that's it.
You have a phone number or email address?
I do. I can leave that, or I can just tell you over the.
It's on the record now if you say.
Michael at scttechnologies.com or Michael at securitycamerateam.com.
Okay. Thank you. And I do not see anyone else with their hand raised or asking a question. Anyone else from the public? Not seeing it. And so we will move on to administrative. Public audience is now closed. Moving on to appointments and applicants for advisory members. We have one regular position available on our Art Advisory Board. We have two regular and one alternate available on the Building Board of Adjustments and Appeals. We have one applicant, Jessica Wilkinson, for a voting student member on our Education Youth Advisory. Commissioner Katz has that appointment.
Nominate Ms. Wilkinson.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We have one alternate position available on the Historic Resources Preservation Board. We have two alternate positions available, or two applicants for the library board. And let me, and so sort of around. And we have two very qualified applicants, so I'm going to speak to them in the next 2 weeks and hopefully make my appointment. So I'd like to table this appointment until the next agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And so we have the Recreation and Parks Board. We have 3 applicants, and 2 of them are also the alternate for the library board. So so what I'd like to do is nominate Victor God for the Recreation and Parks Board.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Katz, you have the second regular position.
Thank you. So since both of the remaining applicants are also the applicants for the library board position that you just tabled, my logic was going to be that whichever one you picked for the library board, I picked the other potentially to kind of spread the opportunity around to serve. So I will table mine till next meeting, and that will be my plan to ensure that both of them get to serve in at least one capacity.
And yeah, and I agree with that. But seeing how I'm not going, we're going to have everyone serve on a board. If able to, I'd like to remove from the table my nomination to appoint Sarah Brown, who is a librarian in the city.
Second, or second to remove from the table if that's necessary.
Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, I'd like to nominate Sarah Brown for alternate to the library board. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 And motion passes unanimously. And now back to Commissioner Katz for the regular position on the Recreation and Parks Board.
So is this still, or you just appointed one? So I'll nominate Mr. Barsky.
All right. Do I have a second? I hear a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. All right.
Mayor, brief comment.
Yes.
I know our staff does a wonderful job advertising and marketing various events and city initiatives. I'd just like to ask if they could also advertise open positions, upcoming positions. And the reason I say this is I would like to see in the near future just a greater pool of applicants, perhaps a more diverse pool that reaches the whole city. Slowly and gradually we are getting there, but time after time we're noticing that some of the names are recurring, and that's a good thing. But I also want to make sure that we diversify the pool.
And so, yeah, I think we could put this in our newsletter as one of the good examples.
Yep.
And I think what we should request is that when our newsletter comes out, that it is also put out on social media with the link.
Absolutely.
So
thank you, Mayor.
Hopefully, and because I feel, we're almost as full as we've ever been with the appointments to our advisory boards.
So Mayor, I thought that we were already doing that. Where do we get this from that we're not doing that? I thought that's always been the case where it's across the city. Am I mistaken here or what?
Commissioner, it's possible I'm mistaken. All I'm asking is just a broad request that we continue to market and promote these positions so more members of the community can apply from all sides of the city. That's
I'd
all
like
I'm
to hear
asking for.
I'd like to hear the city manager's comment on that.
Eleanor just texted me. We do, in every newsletter we put out, we do put the vacancies and openings on our boards. So that's already being done, and we push that out through social media. I mean, Eleanor's available if you want to have her speak to how else we share it, but I know we use every platform possible that we utilize to always put that out. It's hard on us and it's hard on the city and staff not to have the volunteers on the boards. They struggle with quorums on occasion. So
Right.
she does put it on all social media platforms as well.
Well, that's wonderful to hear, and I appreciate that. And I'll reach out to Eleanor offline. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I believe that is it for advisory board appointments. Next, I have $200 that I want to donate to the Boynton Beach Garden Club in connection with the Freedom Shores letter that I got. I spoke with the Boynton Beach Garden Club, and they've also requested to enhance the Southbound entrance sign to Boynton Beach with some native plants. And I think it's very important for our youth to understand what is native, what is exotic, and what is invasive, so that we are protecting what is Florida for the future.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Now we have authorized city commissioners to attend the National League of Cities Congressional City Conference from March 7th to the 10th, 2021. The conference will be online. And I will not be attending. It's a little bit too difficult for me to attend a virtual conference for 3 days. It's kind of like I would want to go to a hotel and just so I could really experience it like you would for a regular conference. So I will not be attending this one.
Mayor, I was going to
Yes.
add the same comment and say the same thing. I tried it with I think the Florida League, and it was definitely better to be there in person for the last event that the Florida League of Cities did. And they did do a good job of trying to keep things socially distanced. But the one conference I did go to that was online, it was just very difficult to do that for 3 days, stare at your computer. So I will decline.
I agree.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
is there a fee for the number of registrations for commissioners, or is just open to everybody for one fee?
There's an early bird fee for $99 for if you do it by January 15th. Otherwise, it goes up to $140 from January 16th to March 4th.
Well, I agree with the two of you. To be quite honest, what I did, I listened, and if I was not interested, I just left until the next one came on, and I came back. So based on that, it is very difficult to do that for a full day. Just looking at a terminal, my eyes were going out of my head. So I would decline based on that.
Yeah, and the tough part is that we're not in school, and all of our students here have to do it every day, every weekday. So it's something that I commend everyone that is learning virtually now, and hopefully we can figure out ways to provide activities and help them with the COVID, because the vaccines are coming through. However, there's only so much that is coming out, and I think we'll have a discussion about the vaccine issue later on during future agenda. So, Lori, I think that if someone would like to attend, they'll let you know, but I appreciate you guys for bringing this up, but the 3-day conference is just a little too much.
I had to do one for my credentialing, and I tell you, it was very difficult because I had to get my 40 hours in, and this was a way to do it, and it's tough. It's certainly not as enjoyable, but if you decide anybody changes their mind, we can get you registered. I really don't, the registration doesn't require one another's, the commission's approval. Actually, it's more for travel expense. So in this case, that really doesn't apply. So should anybody desire to go, we can register you. You certainly have funding in your travel budget to do so.
Thank you. And next, we will move on to consent agenda. Would anyone like to pull an item from consent agenda? I think for myself, I'd like to hear from staff regarding 6 or 5C. And hearing nothing else, so 5C, approve reduction of performance bond from current amount of $1,823,110 to $673,500 for the completion of the paving, grading, and drainage improvements in the association with the Riverwalk project.
Thank you, Mayor. Colin, if we can make sure he's not muted, he can speak to the site work that's been completed to allow the reduction in the bond.
Yeah, Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager. They have completed all of the on-site site work that portion of the bond covered. So once it's complete, we generally release those bonds because there's nothing to collect on once the work's complete. The remaining bond is for work that they have not completed. So they're doing this project in phases as it was originally permitted, and staff would recommends approving the release of the bond.
All right, thank you. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Move.
Second. Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. May I have a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Consent bids and purchases over 100,000. Would anyone like to pull any of these items? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to public hearing. The City Commission will conduct these public hearings in its dual capacity as local planning agency and City Commission. Jim, if you'd like to swear anybody in.
Yes, Mayor. Anybody who intends to testify in this quasi-judicial proceeding, please raise your right hand, and do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will be giving will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Obviously, you're doing that to yourself, but when you do speak and you identify yourself, please confirm that you have taken the oath or affirmation.
And so I guess let's unmute the applicant, Bonnie Miskell. Is she here? Bonnie, are you unmuted?
Yes, I am. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for allowing us to present this evening.
All right. And so what I'd like to do is do it all at one time. So if we'll have the first reading for ordinance 20-034, 20-035, and if you would be willing to give us the site plan as well, which is item 7C.
Yes, thank you. And by the way, I have been sworn. I did raise my hand and swear in. We did assemble our presentation. We organized and included all three in one presentation. So I think we can streamline the discussion this evening by doing so.
Perfect. All right, may I have a motion to remove these items from the table?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor state so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Jim, would you please provide us with a reading?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 20134, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, amending ordinance 0211013 to rezone a parcel of land described herein and commonly referred to as Legacy at Boynton Beach from CBD Central Business District to MUC Mixed Use Core, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
And on to the second.
Hang on one moment, Mayor. I've got to pull that one up.
Um,
Unless you want to share the responsibilities with me tonight.
Yeah, well, you want to turn your video on? We'll see what you're doing.
Sure. Let me just get this agenda item open first.
All right, I got it. The ordinance
Here we
number
go.
20. You got it?
Mayor, I got it. I'm ready. Let me get my video on so you can see me work without my jacket on. Ordinance number 20-035, an ordinance of the City of Boynton Beach, Florida, approving the abandonment of a portion of the improved 40-foot wide right-of-way southeast First Avenue running east from Federal Highway and a distance of approximately 175 feet, authorizing the city manager to execute a disclaimer, which shall be recorded with this ordinance in the public records of Palm Beach County, Florida, and providing an effective date.
All right. And so we have the ordinance read into the record. Ms. Miskell, if you would like to provide us with a presentation. Did you give the staff any slides to be shown?
We did. We have a PowerPoint, Mr. Mayor.
All right, can we have that PowerPoint pulled up, please? All right, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Again, my name is Bonnie Miskell. I'm here on behalf of the owners of the property and the applicants. And we are here this evening to present you with Legacy at Boynton Beach, which is a mixed-use development. The next few slides, and you can skip on to the next few slides. This project is located in the downtown, and the city spent a great deal of time and energy developing a program downtown that will allow redevelopment and revitalize the downtown area. This property is included within that. The first, if you'll go back one slide, I'm sorry. The first attempt at creating the vision and putting that vision in writing was done in 2009. This is just a cover page from what was presented at the time. That's evolved into what is the current plan. If you'll go to the next slide. The current plan today, and actually next slide again, please. Next slide, which was adopted in 2016. As I said, this has evolved. And we are consistent and within the master plan. The master plan shows this underlying land use as MUH, mixed use high. The arrow points out and identifies the location of the subject site. It is located between Southeast First Avenue and Southeast Second Avenue on the east side of Federal Highway and extends up to Southeast Sixth. Next slide, please. The master plan envisioned, as I mentioned, the mixed use high, which this land use category is located within, or this property is located within that land use category. And the master plan identified the appropriate zoning categories that should be applicable for properties within the mixed use high. Those two categories are MU4 and MU Core. We are applying for this evening. The first application is a rezoning to MU Core to make the underlying zoning on this property consistent with the mixed-use high designation that it sits upon, and also consistent with the master plan. So what we're doing was envisioned by the master plan. We are actually making this consistent. Next, please. As I mentioned, this has been going on for the past 2 decades. I've been peripherally involved and sometimes directly involved in some of the projects that are up on the screen. But just to show you what the master plan intended and how that intent and vision is coming to fruition, you have your project, the city's project, the town square project. On the westerly side, which is just east of Seacrest, you have 500 Ocean immediately west of the subject property, which this is very compatible with. You have Mr. Camelier's property on the north side of Ocean, which was approved for a mixed-use development. That hasn't come out of the ground yet, but that also is consistent with the master plan, the underlying land use, and this zoning. Next slide. Next. Next again. I think this may be one of those slides, or maybe we're stuck here. Oh, and there are some other projects that also have been approved. This one is west of the railroad tracks and east of the city's town square project. Next, please. And subject property again on the south side of Ocean between Southeast First Avenue and Southeast Second Avenue on the east side of Federal, located within the mixed-use high land use category. This property is currently zoned CBD. As your staff report mentions correctly, the CBD is really being phased out as it relates to this underlying land use and within this section of the downtown. Next, please. I'm going to go through a few elevation graphics for you so you can get a flavor for this. This is, I'm sorry, let me get my notes squared away here. The nature of the architecture, and I'm not an architect, but I'll do my best at explaining it. This is a mid-rise, modern coastal architectural style. It has a strong base to it, first floor base, which is where the retail is located. It is located along Federal Highway. There are large pedestrian areas, expanded pedestrian walkways that I'm going to go more into detail as we go through this, with the upper levels being the residential. The residential and even the retail on the first level wraps around a parking structure that fully is compliant with the parking requirements for the mix of the units that are proposed and the retail that is on the first floor. That garage is screened really from any visibility to the major roadways, so it is fully contained within the outer portion of the building. Next, please. This is a perspective heading southbound on Federal Highway. There is an open space area located on the north side that will be usable and likely used by the retailers that are proposing to be located on the first floor, upper level residential. This is really, it's done for purposes of you being able to see it. It's really the only location where you can see a portion of the parking structure, which is on the easterly side of that tower. But this really is a wrap for purposes of disguising the garage structure. Next, please. What we did here is we attempted to overlay some of the, the improvements that are proposed, all of the improvements that are proposed on the site, just so that you could get a sense of where it is in relation to its neighbors. Again, 500 Ocean on the west side of Federal, immediately to the west of this site. There's some similarly sized buildings on the east side. You have Marina Village and an office building on the north side. Mr. Camelier's site is proposed to be comparable. It's also more of a mid-rise building. Casa Costa, I always get that wrong. Casa Costa is on the north side. It is actually a taller building similar to Marina Village, but immediately on the south side of Ocean, it's very consistent with what's around it, and it is again consistent with the master plan. This is a part of the city that will allow up to 150 feet. This building is only proposed to be 8 stories and under the 100-foot mark, but it could go as much as 150 based on the master plan. Next, please. This is the perspective looking southbound. This building is more L-shaped with the elongated portion of the building along Federal Highway. It shows you here, though, the portion that butts north is the area of Southeast First Avenue that we've requested to be abandoned. Also, we have an application for the abandonment of that portion. And I'll get into the site plan details in a few minutes. Next slide, please. So, and I hope it looks better on your screen than it does on mine right now, but I'm going to walk you through the site plan at this point. What is shown in blue is the retail component. We have approximately 12,422 square feet of retail. There are parallel on-street parking spaces in front of the building, and this owner is dedicating that area to allow those spaces to exist. Also, there is anywhere from a 10-foot to 19 feet of sidewalk with some active open space areas in front of the building as well. The main entrance is off of Southeast 2nd Avenue, On the south side of the building, you can see the primary entrance generally on the southwest corner of the building. There's also an amenity area on Southeast 2nd Avenue. And the parking again is wrapped. It's just obviously east of the retail component. The ground floor is exclusively for the retail. There's 75 parking spaces shown there that will meet the requirements of the non-residential. We also have off-street parking, on-street parking on Southeast 2nd Avenue. There is a 10-minute one singular parking space on Federal for purposes of retail delivery or pickup of customers, etc. The secondary access is on Southeast 1st Avenue behind the wrap portion of the residential, and there is a loading space there as well. Currently, Southeast 1st Avenue is used by the property owners to the north for purposes of loading and offloading, as they have very limited loading areas. What we've proposed with the ability to have our own loading spaces and some on-street parking spaces, we do believe that it likely will give them some relief. Cutting the area that is to be abandoned, you can see here on this screen, it's the northwest corner of the site. By closing off ingress and egress on Federal Highway, you will give those neighbors to our north some relief as far as loading and offloading goes, because the street will not be as accessible, obviously, and will allow them to use it more readily for loading purposes. And I'll get into that in a few minutes a little bit more in depth. Next slide, please. This shows you some of our pedestrian areas, and as you can see, they're very, very, very wide, much more so than a few of the other projects that I've worked on. Also included along the frontage on Federal Highway is direct access in and out of the parking structure to the street, so that a pedestrian could be walking down the street and come in through a special entrance to get into the parking garage. Also, there are pedestrian areas located on Southeast 1st Avenue on the north side and Southeast 2nd Avenue on the south side. Much larger sidewalks and also active open spaces. Next, please. This is that direct access to the federal highway pedestrian areas from within the garage. Next, please. Okay, so what we're going to start talking about now, we're going to get into a little bit more of the weeds, but I won't go in too much in depth. We meet all the parking standards. We're not asking for any parking relief of any kind. We have, as I mentioned, 75 ground level spaces to serve the residential and guests, the retail and the guests for the retail. And we have adequate parking on all of the upper levels to meet all the demands for the residential. We have a total of 530 parking spaces, 510 garage location, and 20 surface location parking spaces. There's also the additional 10-minute express space for people that are running in and out. Next slide, please. So that really concludes our presentation. We have other slides that we can go into if there are questions. Before I close from the presentation, though, I'd like to just explain how we're, again, consistent and compliant with the master plan, the city code, and also the comprehensive plan. In order, we have the 3 applications pending. We have a rezoning from CBD to mixed use core. We have an abandonment of a portion of Southeast 1st Avenue. We also have the site plan, which is a request for a mixed use building, 8 stories up to a little under 100 feet, 12,422 square feet of commercial, 274 dwelling units, and the overall site is 2.76 acres. This project is one of the first projects to exercise your new code adopted provisions to encourage attainable housing. We have 20 attainable units here that will serve the entry-level residential market. These units were intended to provide your community with what is a more attainable unit from the perspective of rents. So we're offering that with this. We also have committed to participate in your workforce housing program once that's adopted. And I think that does it. We are required to demonstrate to you that we are consistent with the underlying land use designation. As I showed you on the slide previously, the mixed use core category is really the only zoning category that is appropriate given the mixed use high land use designation. So we are in fact consistent. It is appropriate. The CBD is intended to be phased out. This application meets the requirements of the law. Our whole team is joining you today. We have our traffic engineer, Adam Kerr. Mark Rickards is the planner that put together this site plan. I think a few of our owners are also joining and probably would like to speak, just to encourage you to move this forward. The hardest part of this application, and your staff is very thorough, so going through the process is always challenging because of their talent and the fact that they're looking for a complete application. But the hardest part of this application was the fact that this is an assemblage of 12 different parcels. There are at least 8 different landowners here. That is an opportunity for the city to get something of substance, because otherwise the parcels alone would not allow this type of redevelopment on an individual basis. So we're hopeful that you're excited about the project, and we're happy to answer any questions. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Now, does the City Commission have any questions, or before we open it up to public audience? I think my one question is that I saw that in the backup you have 2 extra spaces. I want to know if you can put another parallel parking space as a curbside pickup along Federal Highway for the retail location. So instead of just having 1 10-minute parking space, you'll have 2.
I'm going to ask Mark Rickards to respond to that since he was the designer of the plan and has a better understanding of it. Mark, are you unmuted?
I'm looking for him now. Mark Rickards, you are unmuted.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, I was sworn in. I don't see a problem with that. We actually did not count the 10-minute spot in our parking count. So I'm just being clear about that, but I don't see an issue with having that be 2 spots instead of 1.
That's kind of my first quick question. And does the commission have any other questions before we open it up?
Yes, I do have one quick question.
Yes, Commissioner Hay.
You mentioned, Bonnie, about the 20 surface parking spaces. Is that on the north side of where is that located? Those 20?
Yes. So those are split between Southeast 2nd Avenue and Federal Highway. And we will add to that with the mayor's request, creating an additional spot on Federal as well. So we've split it up, but it's on both of those streets.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
I'll reserve most of my comments until after I've heard from the public. But for now, I want to enter this conversation by saying that I want to be mindful of the past. I want to be mindful of what has happened with other projects like Casa Costa. And one of my concerns is parking, which is why we're talking about these numbers. So briefly, Bonnie, could you just tell me now, I like the idea of wrapping around the garage. Nobody wants to see a concrete garage. But at the same time, if I want to go to Casa Costa and go to those shops, it's really hard for me to know where to go. So how do we kind of reconcile that? Because I want people to be able to go to these places and shop there, in addition to the people that's already living there.
Yes, so that's an excellent question, actually. And I think from a design perspective, we too wanted to make parking not just available, but convenient. Because if it's not convenient, then people don't often use it, or they just won't go to the businesses because they'll find it too much of a pain to get to them. So that's why we wanted, and actually, let me tell you, I don't want to misspeak here. Your staff really encouraged the on-street parking for the reasons that I think you have a concern, Commissioner or Vice Mayor. They held us to a very high standard as it relates to accessible parking. And so the parking layout that's there was encouraged by them. I think that's fair to say. And we wanted to have a connection between the street and the parking garage. That was also encouraged by them. We added that during the process. So between the 75 ground level spaces that are immediately behind all of the retail, there's no island like there is with Casa Costa. You have the retail east of and running along Federal, and immediately behind that you have the parking for it. So that in and of itself is a huge improvement and should take us out of the problems that they have north of us. Additionally, we have the on-street parking, and I'm going to try to pull up a site plan large enough so that I can read it with my eyes, but we have about half of our on-street parking on Federal Highway, a little bit more than that, and we have the balance on the residential and the commercial side, Southeast 2nd Avenue. The other part of we're finding with urban communities today, and particularly the younger urban communities today, they like to have on-street parking for the residential as well. The guests don't want to go 2 or 3 levels up to have to come back down to get to the residential. We did 2 things, I think, to help address that demand. One, we put some on-street parking next to the residential at street level for convenience purposes. And we also created adequate parking to serve the units that are on the floor that the parking is at, so that you know, if I lived on the third level, I have adequate parking on the third level to serve my parking needs. The same is the case for every other floor of the residential. That's another thing that we believe we've done right. But as it relates to the retail, we think we've addressed the Casa Costa problem by having the parking immediately contiguous to the 12,000 square feet of retail, or commercial, I should say.
All right, thank you, Bonnie. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you.
And I'm not hearing anything else from the commission, so I'm going to open it up to the public. If anyone in the, what I'd like to do is go with anybody who's in the audience here first, and then anybody who would like to speak, please raise your hand or ask a question, and we will put you in line to speak. So. And please state your name and address for the record and any qualifications that you might have.
Good evening. My name is Tony Morrow. I have been sworn in. I am a landowner at the block north of this project. And, you know, 6-1 was the vote from your planning and zoning against this project. 6-1. Closing the road Southeast First would devastate our buildings and our properties. Devastate. It's not even close. It was clearly seen by the Planning and Zoning Committee. It's hard for me to even believe, I can't even understand what's going on, how responsible commissioners, a responsible mayor, and I think highly of all of you, could just let this thing roll through without addressing the calamity that would take place for the block to the north of this project. I like the project. I think it's great architecture. I think they have a beautiful plan. But you know, I'm in the business, I'm a builder, developer, and sometimes we get accused of greed and overreaching. And this is an example of why we have to fight that. They have the block. I applaud them for developing that block, but to take away the road, the access to our businesses, to our properties, and that's everyone, by the way, everyone on the north of this project, we all feel the same way. We thought we were heard by the town. We received a 6-1 vote in our favor. And I'm seeing this ridiculous show of, or this lack of appreciation for other members of the community. To take away our road is ridiculous. It will absolutely cripple the value of our land. It will cripple our businesses. It's irresponsible. It's going to affect security, safety. Ocean Avenue floods. The only way I can get out of my property when the bridge is up is to the south, Southeast First. I will have no access. I will have to go in a crazy distance to get to Federal Highway. Why are we even considering it is beyond my comprehension. I haven't heard one commissioner ask a quality question as to how and why they would allow this to happen. And how could you know, this is not just a little side street. This is a thoroughfare. And it happens often, every time we have a major rain, Ocean Avenue floods. And the only way for some of us to get out and have access is through Southeast First Street. So I want to talk a little bit also about the master plan. Let's talk about the master plan. The master plan says nothing about taking a road from other citizens in your town. And if somebody, I think that the people spend a lot of time and energy on this project, but to reference the master plan to support what they're doing is unacceptable. So I'd like to know how the commissioners are looking at this project. There hasn't been one question as to the negative effect. Someone on the developer side mentioned that it would help us for loading. It's not going to help us for loading. It's going to make it impossible for loading. There is absolutely no truth to that at all. It's going to 50% or more of our clients, for our tenants, use Southeast First Street to access our properties. So how are we going to make up for that traffic flow? And when the bridge is up and the traffic is all the way backed up to Federal Highway, how do people get in for safety and security? How does that happen? So I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. I'm gonna let other people talk about it, but in my opinion, the thing that concerns me the most is how this is going forward with a 6-1 vote against it from the planning and zoning. And there's more information. We've got a bunch of information that we'll present to you this evening. So I appreciate the time and thank you.
Mr. Mora, before you go, I did have some questions. So last night I drove on 618 East Ocean Avenue and I got to Southeast First Avenue, no problem. I mean, the road, you know, it's a very bumpy dirt road, but there was no real issue getting to Southeast First Avenue from that location. Now, the property owner may close that in the future. That might affect the access to the Southeast First Avenue, but yesterday I had no problem getting to Southeast First Avenue. And then I just drove to 6th Street and down to Southeast 2nd Avenue. You know, this was 6 o'clock at night, you know, after the DBC meeting, and there was really no issue. You know, the tenants there, you know, these are one-story buildings that are probably 1,500 square feet. So it's not a very active location. And so I understand what you're saying. I understand a lot of what the residents at Coastal Towers are saying regarding the abandonment of Southeast First Avenue. But there are other ways around it. You know, the fact is that the property was sold the 618, and so it's possible that the CRA would want to buy that so that it is a thoroughfare again. There's other answers, and so in regards to, I believe we're going to hear from Mr. Neb from 640 East Ocean Plaza. There's a cut through from Southeast First Avenue to Southeast 2nd Avenue through a parking lot that he owns, that any sort of tractor trailer or big rig can go and use. So I understand the concern that abandoning this entrance and exit will diminish the traffic to your businesses, and it will make it more difficult for the residents of Coastal Towers. However, the reasonableness of that difficulty is not necessarily a great concern of their quality of life, because we're not adding hours, we're not adding, you know, a half hour. We may be adding seconds or under 3 minutes. So the closing of Southeast First Avenue is not necessarily a big concern from what I see, because there are other ways to get to Ocean Avenue and Southeast 2nd Street. And that's kind of where I see it as moving forward, is that this project and the closure of Southeast First Avenue will help traffic in the future with getting a light on Ocean Avenue and 6th Street. So that's, you know, you said you didn't hear from any of the commissioners and the mayor, and so I wanted to make sure that you did hear from a commissioner or mayor.
I don't understand how it helps. How do you say it might help? How does that work?
I didn't say it would help. I said it would be more difficult.
Okay, so you do admit it would be more difficult for these businesses to operate without the access from federal highway?
Yes, I said negligibly, it will nominally, it'll be more difficult.
Negligibly?
Yes.
And how do you come up with negligibly?
I drove it last night.
So you drove it at 6 PM?
Yeah.
And businesses are closed at 6 PM?
Restaurants are open.
Well, there's other things there besides restaurants.
Yeah.
So restaurants are down at the corner and the access for that building really is during the working hours. And they won't be able to access the back with proper loading trucks. We won't be able to get proper trucks to our properties because they won't be able to turn in that area.
They won't be able to go through South 618 East Ocean Avenue?
See, you mean you want the trucks to come through 618? That's private property. You're saying you ought to use that as a road?
If the trucks that need to deliver there, yeah. And these are your neighbors, right?
Well, that's for me. I could have a truck come into my building, but they're going to have to come now from Federal or from Ocean Avenue.
Right, because
And how do they get in there if the cars are backed up all the way to Federal because the bridge is up? And how do they get in there if the road is flooded? Is the town planning on fixing the flooding problem at the corner?
Yep, this project is going to help with the funding.
Okay, so that'll be done before the project starts?
When they get their permit, we will get a certain amount of funding. So we won't be able to work on the project before we get the permit issued.
But it will be done before the project starts.
I don't have that answer.
Would you agree that it would be irresponsible for it to start before the road flooding is fixed?
No.
You don't think it'd be irresponsible? So you think it's okay for people to drive their cars into 10-inch and 12-inch deep water and not have access to Southeast First Street?
Are you saying they're doing that now?
That's what they do, absolutely.
So, I mean, if it's already there now, this is not making it that worse because this is already developed.
No, you're going to close off the access to Southeast First. So how would they be able to?
Southeast Second Avenue.
So people have to go to Southeast Second Avenue?
Because you can take a left turn when you're going southbound. You can't do that on Southeast First Avenue. So all the vehicles that are coming southbound on Federal Highway can go to Southeast Second Avenue because they can't do that on Southeast First Avenue. And then they had the two opportunities of Ocean Avenue and Southeast Second Avenue.
And you don't think by circumventing people to different ways of going to a place of business, it hurts business?
I mean, one of the things that cities do to help with traffic flow, if their traffic was really issue, is they make streets one way. I don't think we have to do that here.
Yeah, but why I just trying to understand, why close the road that so many people have use of for this project? Why close Southeast First Street? Why even, there's other things they could do. They could create a underpass. They could build their building over the top of it. There are other ways, responsible ways to keep Southeast First Street open.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, there was another voice. Who was that?
If you want, we can respond to Mr. Murrow's traffic-related comments.
All right, Ms. Miskell, if you'd like, we'll wait till all the other comments before you respond to all them individually.
That's fine.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to publicly state again, because like you said, it was stated that no one had commented. So this is a good opportunity for me to agree with what you're stating, that the discussion here with respect to Southeast First being closed is a discussion about whether or not traffic will have to travel 50 yards in either direction to make their anticipated route. So the closure of the street basically asks people to drive a fraction of a football field to go on their route. I agree. I don't see that it's of serious concern to the businesses or to the residents who would use the adjacent 6th or 2nd Avenue or Ocean Avenue ways to get out.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
to the point of what was said about why does it have to be closed or why go in that direction? One of the things I heard was that there are legitimate traffic issues caused by having that side street in the first place. And my understanding is that FDOT themselves don't want this open, and this should have been closed ages ago. And so I'd like to explore that because I want to understand that. Is that the case? That is what I'm hearing. But if staff could weigh in, we collect traffic data. Is there a traffic problem? Is this really the case with FDOT? Could we explore this? Or am I hearing this incorrectly?
Mayor, this is Jim Sheriff. Let me just jump in for a second and remind the commission that we're in the midst of a quasi-judicial hearing.
Yes.
The burden is on the applicant to establish all the facts to support the passage of the two matters before the commission. You're at the phase where the applicant has made their presentation, but now other interested parties are in the process of testifying. And you should take that testimony and then permit the applicant to offer additional testimony. And then at that point, if appropriate, ask city staff if they have additional facts or opinions to offer at that particular point. Then the debate back and forth about whether each element or any element of what is being discussed is appropriate or not, and would support a motion for passage of the two agenda items would be appropriate. But you're getting a little bit ahead of the game by having this debate back and forth with certainly with the current speaker, although the points are well made. It's just premature in the process.
So Vice Mayor, would you be willing to wait?
Yes, I am. But I just wanted to explore that topic.
All right, thank you. And so is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak? Please go to the podium on your left.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Jim Knight. My address is 740 Havana Drive, Boca Raton. I do own properties and have owned properties in Boynton Beach for 17 years and have been involved with other developments at the south end of town and in particular where the Walmart is. And we had a lot of opposition back then saying it's going to destroy the neighborhood and everything else and so forth. It actually spurred development. The the property just to the north of that Rick Lococo developed, he was able to put those projects together. I have pictures on my phone. I've been up and down Southeast First Street. I have pictures of a lot of the people on the businesses that park their vehicles for their own employees and so forth on Southeast First Street. But I don't know that that's allowed. And also one of the property owners of the shopping center, which is talking about this, has parking immediately to the east of this property, that the proposed development with parking there as well. So I do not see it to be an issue. I have not seen the semis and so forth. I've asked the people that are opposing the project to say, tell me when the semis are coming. I'll come there and take a picture of it, so forth. But I've never been offered that opportunity to see that coming and going. If they have inadequate parking as part of their own project, that's their item, not the item of ours. And with regards to the drainage, we're not putting any additional water. You're right, the drainage issue is out there and that is going to be corrected by the city and so forth. So I support the project. There are 14 businesses owners that own this property, and they all have businesses in the downtown, and many of them been there for over 30 plus years. So it's time for a positive project at this location. Thank you.
Thank you. That's okay.
All right. Good evening, commissioners and mayor and vice mayor. My name is Jason Evans. I was sworn in. I'm an attorney at Evans Law. I am representing the Morrow family. That's Anthony and Karen Morrow. They own 100 South Federal Highway as well as 618 East Ocean Avenue. as well as Robert Neeb, who owns 640 East Ocean Avenue, and Christina Reed, who owns 630 East Ocean Avenue, which is where the law firm Reed, Griffith and Morin is at. That's who I represent. I also want to acknowledge that Elsie Altuve, court reporter from Genie Court Reporter, is here taking notes on this matter because this is a serious issue. We were retained because the parties oppose ordinance 20-035 as well as the site plan that relates to the abandonment of Southeast First Avenue. I want to echo and incorporate what everyone who has said in opposition of this is not that that they oppose the development in this area, just the abandonment of Southeast First Avenue. Okay, what we're talking about is not an abandonment of a alley. It's not an abandonment of an area that's not well traveled. This is a 45-foot wide by 175-foot deep road, portion of the road, which is a major artery for access in and out. And I've heard a lot of people say that, oh, the flooding issue is something that's there before and it'll be there after. But the access through Southeast First Avenue to Federal is a way around that. And when you block that off, you're going to have the flooding, and that's where you're going to have the backup. So I just wanted to fix that logic in some of the conversation. Okay, and you know, Mr. Morrow touched on a point that I think is very important, and that is the Development Department Planning and Zoning Division's memorandum from September 15th, 2020. It's on page 403 through 405 of today's agenda minutes and notes. And I want to point your attention to the recommendation, which is on page 3, and I'd like to go through it. It's a small paragraph, but I just kind of want to show you where, you know, the lack of attention and detail and carry through is being glossed over for what we see as a beautiful rendering. Okay. The recommendation starts off with staff has determined that the requested abandonment would not adversely impact traffic or other city functions based on the remaining street network in the immediate vicinity. I haven't seen any studies to that point. Nothing was attached. And would not adversely impact other adjacent property owners. We've heard the opposite. We've heard that it would adversely impact property owners. And in fact, Mayor, you said it will be more difficult for businesses. That is not correct. It says based on the above analysis, staff has determined that this, is this working?
Touch the push button at the bottom.
Okay. Based on the above analysis, staff has determined that the subject right-of-way segment located within the confines of the proposed development Legacy Boynton Beach no longer serves a public purpose other than retention of necessary utility easements. This is a well-traveled road. That I don't find to be correct either. This was from a memo dated September 15th, 2020. Thereafter, Planning and Development Board had a hearing about a week later, September 22nd. And this is what Mr. Moore was referencing, was where it was voted down, the motion made to approve Legacy Boynton Beach abandonment 20-009, abandoning a portion of the improved 45-foot wide right-of-way of Southeast First Avenue running east from Federal Highway for a distance of approximately 175 feet. That was voted down by 6 out of the 7 members of the board, and specifically the chair and vice chair. I just want to know why that was not given any weight, and it still, everyone moved forward. You know, we haven't heard competent and substantial evidence as to why the abandonment is necessary. It's a beautiful project. We're not saying anything as far as the upzoning or however you want to look at that. We're just saying that the abandonment of this portion of the road is not following procedure. The recommendations are deficient and they're not followed through. And there's evidence that has been submitted that is contrary to that assertion. So there's a recommendation by staff that again, has failed 6 to 7. Okay, so when your own independent experts say no, okay, approving ordinance number 20-035 in the relevant portions of the site plan will trigger a petition for cert, okay? And not just that, as we've heard that this will hurt the businesses and it'll take away ingress and egress. In addition, approving ordinance 20-035 in the relevant portion of the site plan that abandons that road will give rise to a taking claim. And the affected parties will be seeking compensation and attorney's fees from the city for their reduction of access to such space. So what I say is, let's figure out first a better solution. Let's not go to litigation and figure this out. Let's have a conversation so that everybody wins, but let's do the right thing and let's not rush this through and let's not abandon procedure and process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, how are you?
Doing well.
It's Attorney Christina Reed of 630 East Ocean Avenue. And I have taken the oath. I will be reiterating a lot of what Mr. Morrow said, as we are business neighbors. There's nothing more that I want than the city to expand and flourish, but strategically. I use Southeast First Street many times a day. One of my business's selling points is our longevity of location, as well as the ease of access of parking and entrance. I worry that any change to that could direct my clients, especially those that are elderly, elsewhere. We would become far less convenient. I fear that the burden will be placed on the longtime existing property owners to accommodate those who will be using our property to get from Ocean Avenue to Southeast First. I want more inroads into Boynton than less. Taking away the safest way of entering and exiting my property would not be responsible. For example, and from daily experience, when Ocean Avenue bridges up on each hour-and-a-half hour, the cars back up past the light of Federal, causing numerous accidents. If people don't have an easily accessible alternative, this may get worse. When it rains, Ocean Avenue floods, and multiple times I've seen cars stall out and block the one-way street. We need to keep as many arteries as possible open. I appreciate everyone for listening and for their desire to better Boynton.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else from the public here would like to speak? Okay. We're moving on to online. I see a Mr. Robert Nebb. Mr. Nebb, you're self-muted. You have to unmute yourself before you can speak.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my name is Robert Nebb. I own Ocean Plaza, 640 East Ocean Avenue. And I originally called in because I wanted to speak on behalf of the 20 mom and pop businesses that work out of my shopping center. The back street, I was going to address the back street, how much it is used by not only for deliveries, but by the garbage trucks and all that. But you know, what you said actually upset me far more than anything the developer could have said about the back street. First, you said that it's negligible amount of a delay people will experience by going around to the following street. If you were living in one of the elderly communities to the east of this property, and you had to wait another extra 3 minutes for an ambulance, you wouldn't be taking that slight delay so lightly. Number two, you actually volunteered to the developer two pieces of private property. You said at the beginning of your speech, "Oh, it's no problem that my rear parking lot can be used as a through street." It was very nice of you to volunteer private property that I pay taxes on. You also volunteered Tony Morrow's alleyway. That was very nice of you. But the main point is that it's a beautiful project. They need to keep it south of First Avenue. And the excuse that they're entitled to get the front part of First Avenue because they own land on both sides of the street. So do I. My parking lot goes from First Avenue to Second Avenue. But I want to point out, it's not just the rain that floods Ocean Avenue. You have the king tides. And I've complained about this so many times where the sewers go backwards. And Sixth Avenue, which you pointed out was the alternative route, also goes under a foot of water every time. And you can check how many complaints I made with the sewer department for City of Boynton to come fix their damn sewers, and they never do anything about it. They said they can't do anything about it. There's no funding for it. So I don't think it's it's wrong on so many levels to abandon First Avenue. If they want to build a project on the rear street, that's fine. Or they can actually build with a building and just leave a tunnel on First Avenue, leave a pass through, and everyone would basically be happy. But they can't take away our street. When we bought our properties, not just myself, but everyone else on the street, when you buy a piece of property, you have implied easements. Just as the power company has an implied easement, so do property owners. When you buy a property and there's a street there, and all of a sudden someone else says, well, we're taking away your street because we're going to pay more taxes than you do, that's just wrong. You can't abandon the longtime property owners of Boynton just because it's going to increase the revenue for the city. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Neb. And, what I was stating is that you can't say that you don't have the ability when there is different abilities for you and your tenants to have.
It's not wide enough to get past it. That's a parking lot for the store owners.
Right. And there's an exit to Southeast Second Avenue. Is that correct?
It's not a wide enough strip to fit big trucks. The garbage trucks come in that way. The ambulances come in that way. The fire trucks come in that way. The police cars come in that way.
So,
count how many emergency vehicles have gone down the street. Not even mention the tractor trailers that deliver. We have a furniture store and we have several restaurants. These large trucks coming, these purveyor trucks, they can't turn around. And they certainly can't fit down the alleyway when my parking lot is full in the back.
thank you.
Look.
Is there any, Mr. Rickards, is there anything that you would like to, no, I'm sorry, I'm going to wait until we finish, get everyone else. I have a Steve Skaggs that would like to speak. Mr. Skaggs, I've unmuted you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Steve Skaggs. I am the owner of Two George's Restaurant. I've owned it for over 23 years. I am also a partner in the parcel assemblage on Southeast First Street. I am speaking for the 14 business owners who are involved in this project. I believe as a business owner in the city that this will be very good for the local businesses. We're going to have people and tenants that work, live, and play in Deerfield Beach. They're going to come to my business. They're going to come to the coffee shops. They're going to come to the clothing stores, and they can walk. They don't need to take up any parking in the city, which is in very short supply often. I think by increasing the density, we can possibly help fill up some of the vacant commercial stores in the area. I believe that we have been consistent with the downtown master plan. This group of assemblage, we've been working on this since 2005, believe it or not, and we have finally come to this point where we're able to put something together, and I really believe it will be something very good for downtown Boynton. I know someone earlier had spoke about green space. I don't believe this is the place to put green space. They were talking about a park on the water, and right next to the Two George's Restaurant, the CRA has a beautiful park right there for people to come and enjoy the waterway. I know the CRA also has a nice piece of property right there on Federal Highway in Boynton Beach that if someone really felt additional green space was needed, that may be a very viable spot for it. But I just think for the downtown area, we need additional density. We need people that can walk to the stores and to the restaurants. And I really believe it will be a benefit for everyone in the area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I believe we have a Vanessa Belmont that would like to speak on this item as well. Ms. Belmont, would you like to speak? Going once. All right. see. And so if there is anyone else that I'm missing from the audience or no, I'd like to answer a question or speak. Yes,
I need to be sworn in. I wasn't here at the time.
Jim, do you mind swearing her in?
Yes, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Thank you. Susan Oyer, 140 Southeast 27th Way. I was not going to talk tonight. I walked in going, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I don't want to get anyone madder at me than they're already mad at me for speaking out on other projects. But as a couple of you have noted, we had extensive discussion in P&D over this. There's a reason we all voted against it, or sorry, not all of us, 6-1 vote against it. Something that they have not been bringing up is the architectural style. You're sitting here wanting to put this right next to the Intracoastal, possibly seeing the ocean, and there's nothing overly coastal about it. It's just, sorry to say it, and I genuinely like Bonnie, but this is not a very pretty coastal looking building, and they could really ramp up the prettiness. Second of all, I want to say there's no compatibility, and I have this argument on a regular basis with you guys, and I hate to sound like a broken record here, but you have single family homes, possibly with children, right across the street from where you want to build an 8-story apartment building. And they have not addressed this, but on 2nd Avenue, I just looked it up on the property appraiser site. I believe there's 2 or 3 single family homes. And you want to put an 8-story building in their line of sight when they walk out in their driveway every day. There's 2-story apartments down that street on the south side. There's, I believe, 3 or 4 of them, if I looked at it correctly, because I've had friends who've lived over there. There's a lot of teachers living over there because those are affordable apartments. That is affordable housing. And we haven't even begun to discuss the damage to the homes from the pounding of the foundation every day for at least 6 months to pound down the ground to put the foundation for a building this tall. I mean, I've read the stories. I'm happy to share them with you about foundation pounding causing sinkholes. That's something that has not been discussed or addressed. What's going to happen to the existing buildings? I know my building is damaged from 500 Ocean. And that's what, 5 stories? What's going to happen with 8 stories? It's going to impact your foundation, your plumbing, your windows, your doors. You're going to have to redo all kinds of stuff because the foundation pounding is going to do so much damage to your physical properties. Not to mention the interruption. And I'm all for construction. Let's build smart. Please don't think I'm anti-development. I'm not. But there's no compatibility. Putting an 8-story building across the street from 1-story family homes and 2-story apartments where there's children, and you're having all these trucks going in and out, how do you expect people to work with the foundation pounding for every day for at least 6 months? What kind of impact is that going to have on their businesses? And that doesn't include the environmental impact of potential sinkholes. Do we truly have the ability to handle 8 stories of sewer? I mean, people send me pictures of sewage seeping up at 500 Ocean. They send me the video. Do we really have that ability? If we can't control the sewers now, how can we control them with 8 more stories of people and 274 apartments? And I'm all for it. I think we should be building businesses and building offices. I don't think we should be putting more apartments in. Sterling Village was mentioning during the P&D meeting, they are shifting the entrance, one of their entrances to the Southeast 2nd Avenue side. Now they're saying they're going, we're already done with the construction, and now you want to change this road? This is a residential road with children playing, and it was already going to be enough to add the cars going in and out of Sterling Village. But now you want to put all the cars coming in and out of Coastal Towers and 8 stories worth of apartments? So I know you're probably not listening to me, so I'll just stop talking, and I don't want to wear out my welcome in any way, shape, or form. But this, I think, is a big problem. And I think everyone is all for smart development. And I think everyone's saying it over and over. We want something beautiful, but is 8 stories and more mixed use residential with the retail down below that is not working in the city. And I think I've sent you all the research from the Stronger City website that shows it only works in major cities like LA and New York and Chicago. That just does not work in smaller cities. I mean, I look at West Palm. It's not working in West Palm. And God knows they're much bigger than us. So if it's not working there and it's not working here already with empty spaces all over, then why do we want to put more in? Let's put in office buildings. Let's give people jobs. Let's not put in 274 apartments with all the water usage that our system honestly cannot handle or doesn't appear to be able to handle based on what I'm seeing currently. And think about, you know, if you're the one who owns that house across the street and you're trying to raise your family, what is this doing when you have kids and you have children and they're wanting to go out and play, and you know they're going to be running through the streets playing around, and now you have all these trucks coming in and out and the foundation pounding? I mean, are all those houses going to sue? Are all these businesses going to sue? I mean, tell me how to win, because I'm still owed for the hydraulic lifts we had to put in my building from 500 Ocean, damaging my building. But there's more to this than just how many apartments can we stack in our city. It's impacting the character of our city, and all of you were elected by the residents to protect the character of this city and to make it better. And I know it's falling on deaf ears, so I'll just stop talking. Thank you.
Ms. Sawyer, before you leave, Mayor, would you ask Ms. Sawyer to confirm that she took the oath? I read it to her, but I didn't hear her say anything in response to it.
I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And so, all right, I believe, was it Kim Kelly? You have your hand raised.
Hi again, Kim Kelly, 529 East Ocean Avenue, coordinator DBC and owner of Hurricane Alley. You know, after listening to everybody speak, you know, again, we want development. We just want smart development. And as we talked at the meeting last night, we really think that we need to get together and come up with a comprehensive plan. This master plan that was developed was in 2009. I mean, that's, you know, a long time ago. Things have changed. COVID has come. And the thing is looking, unfortunately, I couldn't see the plans because it wouldn't allow us to see on the webinar tonight. But, you know, I wonder how many on-site parking spots do they have, and one curbside pickup. I mean, not to be, you know, facetious, but that's just, it's not going to work. You know, it's a great gesture, but it's just not going to work. And, you know, closing down that street, you have to understand, me being a restaurant owner, these trucks, they come in. I mean, you got 3 beer trucks, you got 2 liquor trucks, you got a produce truck, you got a seafood truck, you got 2 different food distributors. That's like 10 trucks in one day, and that's just one restaurant. So you got to imagine if you close like an alleyway or a street, you're causing a lot of chaos. I've seen it just in my, you know, my back alley when the Ocean Mart's getting their delivery and I'm getting my delivery, and that's not including Pepsi-Cola coming and Coca-Cola coming and the bread companies coming. You know, to run a restaurant, you have 10 to 15 trucks a day. And I think this is the big concern, and you really need to think about this. And, you know, not only that, but I've seen 3 traffic accidents in the last weekend at Federal and Ocean. And this is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And, you know, it's just like we really need to come together and think of a comprehensive plan that can work for the developers and work for the community. And, you know, meet halfway, I think, on both ends. You know, you got a Renaissance type building at 500 Ocean, and then this type of architecture doesn't really mesh, and you're going to have a mixed match looking downtown, which I don't think anybody's going to be proud of. And I don't think it's going to hurt if you get together with the DVC and some other people and the developers, and we all come together and sit down and maybe just come up with maybe just a better plan. The first thing you come up with isn't just the best plan. And, you know, my heart goes out to these developers, these 14 property owners. But my heart also goes out to all these small business owners that have been there for 25 years, working their tails off 7 days a week, 15-hour days. So I really want you to consider that. And that's all I have to say. And I want to thank you for your support and listening to our group.
Thank you. Next, I have a George Khalil. Mr. Khalil George.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, everybody. Good night. My name is Khalil George. So, I recently moved into a unit in Marina Village in Boynton Beach. I've been a Floridian most of my life, living in Fort Lauderdale and in Delray Beach. So, just want to speak my piece, if briefly. So yeah, in the backdrop of, you know, what has been 2020, with the coronavirus ravaging small businesses across the country, I do not see how an implementation of retail stores and condominiums will bring healing to business owners and citizens of this community. So retail stores, they're going to be one of the most hardest hit industries over the next decade due to the advancement of AI, machine learning, and the Internet of Things. Simply put, most job opportunities that offer retail stores could potentially provide to humans will more than likely be lost to machines over the course of the next decade. In regards to the properties, it was mentioned that a percentage of affordable housing would be offered, but that would imply that the remaining properties would be outside of the affordable housing range for most citizens in Boynton Beach. So, you know, in closing, in the end, I just fear that the people will have yet another condominium that may be unattainable for them to live in, with businesses under it that they can't gain employment in, under the backdrop of a country that's, you know, still reeling from an economic crisis. So I ask everybody here to please consider alternatives, whether it be less dense housing, something that can help to uplift the community, empower existing businesses, create sustainable businesses and job opportunities for the existing people in the community. So that's my piece. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. George. And you said you live in Marina Village in the high rise?
Yes, just recently moved in there with my girlfriend, Vanessa Belmonte. So
okay,
we'll be moving in within the next couple weeks.
All right. Well, good luck, and we're glad to have you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
And Bernard Wright, you're currently self-muted if you'd like to speak.
Yes, again, good evening. This is Bishop Bernard Wright, 713 Northwest 2nd Street. I'd just like to speak as a projective current candidate for mayor, as sitting in a mayor's position. You know, this city is, you know, we are elected officials. You all are elected by the people for the people. And so Boynton Beach is a city made up of different districts, and we have communities. And so we do expect you all to have our best interests, our concerns and needs at heart. Whose agenda is at heart here? That street should be his godfather there, and those business owners been there over 25 years. It shouldn't even be a matter of debate. You understand? Because I am definitely, you understand, for development. I'm here advocating for development in District 2, which is so long, you know, needed. But however, you know, why are we talking about going against these people and these business owners that could be hurt by all means? You understand, for a developer to bring in, you know, people coming in here to increase, you know, wealth building and things of that nature is all right. But never, you understand, progressively at the extension of culture inside of any city. And in the community, we have culture inside the whole city. And as a mayor, I never would even talk about agreeing with a developer coming in here that would do anything that cause a problem with the people. The culture of the people could never be extinct, could be never surpassed, exceeded, and in respect to that particular community. And we're talking about that street right now. Now, I love the development. I was almost inclined to say, yes, I love that because we need development in the whole city, not just even District 2. Well, I've been disenfranchised so many years, but I'm speaking for these people. And that street, just if it was right here in District 2, my street, that's a thoroughfare, 2nd Street, right here before me. Man, I'd be ready to go to the end of the earth to see that you don't come and just, for others' agenda. The agenda is the people's, and that's what you are elected for. It shouldn't be about that. So if they can't do something to leave the street where it is and go on and develop where, you understand, it would be conducive to all the people in Boynton, not bringing people in to move people out, but to make the city better in every area. That's bringing change for the better for the people now and putting unity in the community. And we don't have this division. When you start talking about private, public, we're talking about a partnership, which you don't have there really, if you want to truth about it, because here we got a big issue about a street that's been there so long. How can you take it away from us, Bontonians? Most people here who are making these decisions haven't, not even born and raised in Boynton. If they've been here, their interest has not really been inside of here. And we run for elected offices for a lot of personal agendas. We don't have heritage, legacy as I do in the city where we have a compassion for this city culture continue to exist. You know what I mean? Our history, our legacy can be honored and recognized. You want to take 1st Street? I mean, we're on 2nd Street. To God be the glory. But I know the passion of those people. I heard the man come up and speak. Then I heard those lawyers. And there's a prima facie case here. Why do you want to go in litigation? Right now, I'm dealing with something over here with Wells Landing. You about to go in litigation and want to change that name. And I brought those developers in, and they didn't even bring me in as a consultant. And I don't even make a dime. It's just my family being honored. Man, I'm gonna tell you something. We have now got to understand when we elect y'all, you work for us. We work to get you in there, and it's a different mindset today. I'm saying, why are y'all going through this? Let's come to the conclusion, being neutral parties, you the mayor and you the commissioner, you're to be neutral parties, but for the best interest, needs and concerns of the people. I mean, this is Boynton, baby. It has culture. You all wasn't here. I'm 68 years old, just been consecrated a bishop. I got a mayor that had disrespected me twice, having me escorted out the meeting, never been done. And I made history in this city. My voice is to be heard just like Susan Orr. And you gave all of them the courtesy to speak. But see how you cut me off? By the grace of God. Man, I tell you, leave it alone, leave the street there. You can't build around it. By the grace of God, I love the project. Yes, the concept. But there's no more bickering and dicking about that street. We're talking about the people now. And if our best interest is not in concern and taking under advisement, you mayor, you commissioners of each district, and that's 4, don't mean us no good. Why should we have you in nothing but our prayers? By the grace of God. I can meet you at the gas station. You think I feel good about you, and you have no respect for me? That even when I come to the dais, and I bring an issue, you don't even respect me to even address it. Just say thank you. No, it doesn't go like that. Baby, y'all got it wrong, twisted. Politicians. It's not about that. It's about being there for the best interest of the people. And the best interest of the people is those people right there that been there on that street and been talking to you all. Please listen to them by the grace of God. I'm out of here.
Okay.
But if I was the mayor,
I believe he said he was gone. Did you hear him say that too?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
I do see Mr. Jason Evans have his hand raised. I believe he lowered his hand. So I'm going to ask if anyone who has not spoken already or in the audience or online, is your opportunity to speak. This is the first reading, so we will have another reading of this as well. And I believe I'm not seeing anyone else with their hand raised or looking to speak. John, can you confirm that? Alan?
Hello, Mayor Grant. This is Alan. I do not see anyone else with their hand raised either at this time. and no questions in the question panel that haven't already been addressed as I see it.
Thank you. And so with that, I am going to close the public audience for this public hearing. And I'll ask the City Commission if they would like to make comments or questions to the applicant before the applicant responds, or allowing the applicant to respond to any of the comments or questions from the public during the public hearing.
Mayor.
Yes.
I have questions for staff.
Go,
Can I
Liz.
ask that now or later?
Later.
All right, that's fine.
So,
Mayor?
yes, Commissioner Hay has his hand raised. Yes.
Yes, I would like to know if the developer has explored alternatives as far as keeping that street open, and what would be the negative impact on the project. I'd like to hear more information about that. Or was it just that one option that you have of just closing southeast of First Avenue?
Mr. Mayor, may I respond?
Yes, please respond to Commissioner Hay's question.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hay, we actually, the partial closure was something that we were asked to do. It was further explored and evaluated by DOT, and FDOT was not in favor of leaving Southeast First Avenue open. So they supported the abandonment as well. All of the different technical reviewers evaluated the amount of traffic that currently is on Southeast First Avenue, one of which was our technical expert, our traffic engineer, and he also concluded and provided data supporting the conclusion that the amount of traffic was insignificant, that the alternatives provided that exist today, and in fact, a consideration that may be, and I'm going to let the Deputy City Manager discuss it better because I have little knowledge about it, but there was some discussion that Southeast 6th could potentially be a full intersection. With the closure of Southeast First Avenue, that option becomes a better reality because the nominal amount of traffic that is on, that the data supported and concluded is on Southeast First Avenue today, would be moved to Southeast 6th Street and to the intersection, which would better support the option for a full intersection there and a traffic light, making conditions safer. Because right now, Southeast First Avenue is only a right in and a right out. It is not a full opening, which makes use of Southeast First Avenue limited because it is not a full opening. Southeast 6th could potentially be a full opening, and the closure of Southeast First Avenue would help to promote that. So we were encouraged to design as we did because it actually is a better design. It's a safer design. The other thing that I think is worthy of saying, because there seems to be a lot of confusion about drainage and somehow the closure of Southeast First Avenue resulting in greater drainage problem. We're part of the solution as it relates to drainage. The biggest problem today with drainage is the older subdivisions that haven't had redevelopment are based on old standards or no standards, and they did not retain their water, and they just forced it into the right of ways or onto other people's property. We would have to handle and manage historical flow, and that of course is going to happen during the permitting phase, and I'm sure the Deputy City Manager will confirm what I'm saying to you. But we're also having to deal with the flow that would have been on Southeast First Avenue through the abandonment, because that'll become our responsibility. So we are going to improve the drainage conditions for two reasons. One, because of the new development, and that we will be held to much more restrictive rules and regulations and go through a much more restrictive application process with the Water Management District and your city. That And we're going to be receiving water that otherwise was being dumped on Southeast First Avenue because that area will become part of our project. So we are part of the solution for drainage. And in the event that Southeast 6th Street makes sense from a full intersection perspective, we're part of that solution too.
So you looked at only the traffic flow in terms of the rationale for closing that street, that it would be minimal impact. What about the practicality of maybe keeping that street open and building some kind of connection over that avenue? Has that been explored, or what is the reason for not doing that?
Yeah, I am late to the dance here, so I couldn't tell you if it ever had been explored. It has not been explored since my participation. You would lose a significant amount of your first level commercial in doing it. You would also lose parking. It would potentially constrain your parking structure, which the building is wrapped. So you would have slight problems with that potentially. But in my tenure, Commissioner, I'm not aware that they actually tried to redesign on that basis.
So what it does is it boils down to dollars and cents from your standpoint. If you close it, then you lose a lot of potential monies and space to build your project versus now, is there anybody there in your organization who was at the first dance, who has taken a look at other options other than closing up that street?
Mark has been involved in the project longer than me, and he may be aware of those conversations. You know, I also would be remiss if I didn't say that DOT was not in favor of Southeast First staying open. So it wasn't just dollars and cents. It was also technical agencies saying that it's not, that it isn't ideal from the perspective of roadway management. But I'll let Mark speak to your question about whether they looked at a redesign option. Mark, are you still out there?
I'm still here. And Commissioner Hay, thank you for your question. I think it's worth mentioning, I think in two parts as an answer to your question. One is really something that should be elaborated on by Adam Kerr or Josh Horning. Adam Kerr is a traffic engineer here also on the phone, and Josh Horning is a civil engineer of record. But the design on Southeast First allows for a 3-point turnaround, and it's in the backup. And I know it's a thick site plan packet. But on sheet C7, I believe, and I can double check that towards the back, what it does is it shows a 3-point turn for fire trucks, for trash trucks, and a WB40 truck. I know it's W40 just means how long the trailer is. And that we've accommodated that in the Southeast First expanded driveway. There's also a loading zone on Southeast First, such that all of those kinds of trucks can make a 3-point turnaround. In looking at it originally, and I was involved at the very first dance, as you said, if you design a tunnel, for lack of a better word, such that a WB67 truck, which is the largest semi 18-wheeler design, could somehow go through Southeast First, and again, I'm not sure I recommend them doing that, but if they did with a tunnel opening, it would have to be very, very large, both for site triangle purposes, so that when they turn out, and it's a right out only on Federal, so that when they turn out, they have a safe site triangle looking at the traffic going northbound on Federal, but also just making the truck turn. That's a huge truck trailer that makes a very wide radius when they turn. So for that reason, together with our feedback from DOT, and from their perspective, less driveways in proximity to the intersection is a better thing. That's why we went forward with this design, if that helps. And if you need a more technical answer, I'll probably kick that over to Adam Kerr, who's a traffic engineer. I'm a planner.
Well, I may come back to it, Mayor, but I'm okay right now.
Okay, thank you. And so I'll ask if the commission doesn't have any further questions to the applicant, we'll have the applicant respond to any of the comments made earlier. So Bonnie, do you have any answers for any of the people that spoke in regards to the abandonment or I guess the development?
In general.
Yes.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, and I'll be very brief. I know the evenings, we're getting late here. First of all, there was a comment about no competent evidence, and I think that the person making that representation just doesn't understand the process. The city goes through a very detailed analysis and review. Technical data is filed, traffic statements, site plans, other plans that are required to demonstrate that we meet the requirements of the code. You go to staff level meetings where you meet with all the different disciplines. They include your, traffic, utilities, police and fire, drainage is analyzed. Your engineering department is very much involved. Now, and conditions come out of their review. So there are many, and not just ours, but yours, technical experts that touch these plans and these files, and they scrutinize them for consistency. All of that was done. And at the end of the process, your staff concluded what we had, that we meet the requirements of the law, that our plans are compliant and consistent, and the conditions that your staff believes are necessary to enforce your rules are adopted and incorporated in the packages. And we agree with all of them. And at the end of the day, each report provides your technical experts' recommendation on whether we meet the requirements of the law. And it's in that report. And they concluded that we did on all three of our applications. And I like Susan, I like you too, Susan, and I know you work hard to make your city great, as do all of the people that are sitting on the dais and the staff members that review these applications. And while, you may not like the architecture, the vision was established in 2016, allowing that piece of property to go up to 150 feet. We're not anywhere near there. We are compliant with the requirements of the code. And that's what we have to prove. And the reports that have been provided and our application analysis supports the conclusions in those reports. As I mentioned to you before, and our engineers prepared to do it, but we are part of the drainage solution. The properties that exist to our east, north, and south were not designed to meet the standards that the governments, both the city and the water management district, require of development today. By redeveloping this site, we're going to make it better just for that reason. But as I mentioned to you before, if part of the road is abandoned, we have to absorb the water that would be crossing that road. It would be coming onto us, and we'd have to come up with a solution to handle it. So sometimes, in some instances, the new development bears the burden of the old because the old didn't address and plan properly, because 50 years ago, they didn't have any rules. So we're also contributing in that regard too. In any event, I was going to go through a few more things in the report because some of the people that spoke don't have access to it, but I'll suffice it to say that your technical experts have looked at this under a microscope, and they have concluded in every regard that our application is compliant and that we meet the requirements of the law. And we will, as we are showing you, and I'm sorry, one last thing. The problem that I see, and actually Mr. Knight has a picture on his phone. I was going to include it in the PowerPoint, but it somehow got missed. There's a problem out on Southeast First Avenue today, and I won't disagree with the neighbors in that regard, but it's their parking. It's parking of cars, not trucks, but cars. The standards 50 years ago didn't require the parking demands that exist today. Now, we don't have a parking problem. They do, and they are parking on Southeast First Avenue. There is no way, if you look at those pictures, that a large semi could even get through Southeast First Avenue to get to Federal Highway because of the cars that are parked on the roadway, not even in the swale, but on the roadway. We are adding spaces that we don't restrict. There will be on-street parking on both Southeast 2nd and on Federal Highway that anyone can use. We are going to be part of that solution too. You know, we can't fix all the problems, but we are coming to the table with a lot of solutions. If this project is not approved, so do those solutions. They go away. So anyway, I think I've addressed the ones that I've made notes of. There is competent evidence. We are providing for a solution, and we do have the data and conclusions and studies to support it. Thank you very much. And if I haven't responded accordingly, please feel free to ask further questions.
Thank you, Bonnie. So a couple of other things that I'd like to make is that one is an enhanced bus stop. I believe that there is currently a bus stop in front of the pantry. That's a drive-through location. Is that part of the current site plan?
Mark, you want to jump in on that one?
Yes, Bonnie. I recall there being a bus stop, and we're certainly amenable to having an enhanced bus stop. I remember reaching out to Palm Tran about whether they thought that location was the right location or whether further north from where it was slightly would be better. But yes, we're amenable to that.
And so I'd like to make it a condition that the developer provides an enhanced bus stop location that includes a shelter for the residents, unless there's an overhang at that current spot. The other things that I wanted to just talk about that I spoke to you, Bonnie, is in regards to the CRA TIF funding. I don't necessarily know if we're allowed to put a condition on approval unless you agree that any developer speaks with the CRA so that that we can create a TIF agreement so that any of the current businesses that may be pushed out can be included in the project that is reasonable, that any environmental enhancements can be built in, and if there's any additional parking that the CRA can pay for the public, I feel that is beneficial. So I don't, Jim, is that possible to make a condition on approval to speak with the Community Redevelopment Agency?
Well, the real answer is that no. You can request that they speak with the CRA, but you cannot make it a condition of approval.
Okay, so I'll make that request then. But in regards to the bus stop and the curbside parking space, can I make that a condition on approval?
You can make that a condition of approval with the support of the commission.
Okay, thank you. And I think those are it. I'd like to have the commission have any final comments before we move on with the motion.
Mayor, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would support your condition for adding the enhanced bus stop. And my question to the applicant is, what is the percentage of those affordable, or I guess whatever you're calling it? I know you guys said it's not necessarily affordable, but it falls within that parameter. What is the percentage of those units that are being built that fall within that category?
Yes, I'm referring to them as attainable. That is the intent, is that they will be, because they're entry level and they're smaller units. It's approximately 10%. That's not to say, though, Commissioner, we have a very large number of one bedrooms that are over the 750 number. That they're 875 square feet. The market now for that type of unit probably would qualify as well. So that's not to say that there won't technically be more attainable, but the ones that are absolutely under the 750 mark that would be considered attainable in accordance with your ordinance is 20.
Bonnie, you confused me because you started with 10, then you went to 20. Can you
Oh,
give me a
10%, I'm sorry, 10%, a total of 20 units. I'm sorry,
20
forgive me.
units? Okay, equating to 10%. All right.
Right.
Staff, can somebody please clarify for me what our ordinance is and if this application or this applicant is using our ordinance and how they qualify?
Yeah.
Colin? Yeah.
Commissioner Almus, are you okay if we have, I guess, Jim, is now the time for the commission to ask staff questions?
Yes, if the developer has concluded their comments and the responses, yes.
Okay,
We
thank
have, thank you.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No problem. Colin Groff, Assistant City Manager. There's two portions of the ordinance. One is in the what we call right now the Affordable and Workforce Housing Ordinance, where you can gain additional density and height, which this project didn't need the height. They weren't asking for it. And the other part of the ordinance is building the smaller units within the price range that fits the attainable housing. That's the area that this particular project is applying for. So they have to meet those requirements, those percentages of units that are smaller than the 750 square feet, or which is then meets the attainable housing. It's sort of confusing. This is one of the things we're actually bringing back to you. I think it's next meeting. We're going to have a conversation on that, which we will make it. We're making some recommendations and some changes because it is a fairly confusing ordinance right now. But basically, there's two parts of it. There's one, if they want the additional height, they have to provide a certain percentage. They do not need the additional height, so they are providing the smaller units at the affordable range to meet the requirements of our code. I hope that answers that question.
It does, Colin. And what is the percentage of the units that they have to make that to in order to receive the benefits of the ordinance?
It's a 1-to-1. So if they needed, in other words, if they needed an additional 20 units to make their project work, they have to provide 20 units of attainable housing. If they needed 30, they would need to provide 30. So it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio.
And so the 20 units that they're providing, that is the 20 units in addition that they needed to make their project work?
That's what they've applied for now. Again, this is part of the permitting. If you look at the conditions of approval, one of the conditions of approval, they have to come in and work with staff to make sure they meet the correct numbers that are in the code. And that is a condition of approval to make sure that all of those numbers match properly to the code as written.
Okay, and so to make sure I understand properly, they have met the requirements of the ordinance according to how we've written it thus far.
The answer to that is they have said they have met the ordinance. We have seen it. It appears that they have met the ordinance, but one of the conditions says that they have to come in and actually bring the technical information during permitting to show that they have met it. Because this is at the preliminary stage, at the site plan staging, you don't have all of those details to guarantee. So that's why it's a condition of approval. The condition of approval guarantees they will meet that ordinance. So okay. It's not just thrown up in the air. It's not just, yes, we're doing it. It's actually a condition of approval that they have to prove it with the documentation that they're meeting those ordinances.
Okay, and so it would be at a later time then that they would, I guess, technically be given the permission to build at a larger density with the units that they've built that are attainable.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Again, right now they would be, if they're providing 20 units, that means they needed 20 units to get to the density that they wanted. So they're providing 20 attainable units. Mm-hmm. You know, again, we have to verify that when we get the final design, because again, right now we have the internal is, you know, 20%, 30% architectural plans. We want to make sure we get the final architectural plans to make sure it does meet all of the requirements of the code.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And then my next question, still to you, Colin, is in regards to the street, the road. Just for clarification, I know we spoke about this. I want to make sure we clarify again for the record. The street that is being closed is first, but that will allow for enhancements to be done, a light to be added, and drainage and all of that to be corrected on 6th, correct?
The answer is yes. We've approached, DOT is in the planning stages right now to just, and the city is participating with DOT to plan an intersection improvement at Ocean and 6th. The problem, it's a long answer to why staff is recommending closing Southeast First, the portion of Southeast First, and it's actually the same reasoning that we closed Southeast First on the other side of Federal when Ocean 500 was built, and why we recommended closing Northeast First on Ocean 1, and the same reason we're going to recommend closing Northeast First on the Northwest block. I know that doesn't make sense. And all of the reasonings are is because these intersections are within 200 feet of a major intersection, which is Ocean and Federal. And then the north ones, of course, are within 200 feet of a major intersection of Boynton and Federal. Good traffic planning, those are access points that are too close to the intersection to make those intersections work efficiently to move traffic through them. You know, we hear a lot of questions about, you know, the traffic patterns and the traffic backup, and a lot of backups are caused through having right in, right outs too close to intersections where people are slowing down prior to the intersection. Southeast First also exits directly onto a left turn lane. That's a left turn lane onto Ocean Avenue, and so you get cut across traffic from Southeast First Avenue into the left turn lane, which also is a dangerous situation. There's also not enough room coming out of Southeast First to make a turn with any kind of truck. They talked about the tractor trailer trucks. A tractor trailer truck coming out will go across all lanes of traffic at there. There's just not enough room for people to stop at the light. So good traffic planning says that that road is actually too close to that intersection and it should not be there. If we were planning this right now, that road wouldn't be allowed under the standards. And with this bill, DOT is recommending that road be closed. The city staff is recommending that that road be closed for those very reasons. We did look at the data that was submitted by the applicant, and the data does support that it is limited traffic on Southeast First. None of the businesses that are adjacent to those that are not part of this project have a Southeast First address. They all have an Ocean Avenue address or a Federal Highway address. So all of those are addressed off of the other roads, and those are their main entrances. Staff worked with the applicant to improve Southeast First's cross section to allow safer parking and unloading and unloading areas for these businesses, because they do use it, and making it more of an alley instead of a through street will actually enhance, we believe, enhance based on the experience, your staff's experience, enhance those businesses. Some of the businesses have access to Southeast First for their parking lots. That will be maintained, so that won't eliminate that access. And it also will then move traffic either to Ocean Avenue and Northeast 6th Street or to Southeast 2nd Avenue and Federal, which Southeast 2nd and Federal has a south left turn in and a right in and a right out, which is a much safer distance from the intersection to make those movements, and a much safer for the tractor trailers to make those movements. So that's why staff recommended that, among other technical reasons why we're recommending closing that. Yes, and I was going to get to, and we are also working, city staff is working with DOT to signalize the intersection at Northeast 6th and East Ocean Avenue, and this definitely does help drive that merits for that signal.
Okay, so my question on the roads that will be left over if First is closed, those two roads, Southeast 2nd and Northeast 6th, will there be improvements on both? Will drainage and improvements as well be done on those streets?
So Southeast 2nd Avenue, the applicant is proposing improvements on Southeast 2nd in front of their property. We also are we added a condition to the project that the applicant also improve a sewer line that is on Southeast 6th Street. The size is correct, but it's an older line that we want to upgrade. The city will actually participate in that because it is off-site and it's not required for the project, but we want it done as part of the project since we're working in there. We also are, and the mayor, I think, mentioned this, we are looking at methodologies to have the impact fees or the fees that are paid for traffic by the developer to go to the signalized intersection at Northeast 6th and Ocean Avenue. That is all right now in preliminary stages because that's a DOT road, East Ocean Avenue at that location. And of course, Federal's a DOT road. So we have to work through DOT on that, but they are in the planning stages and we have met with them several times. So, and the city is actually participating in some of that study work that has to be done prior to doing a signalization design.
Okay, thank you, Colin.
Vice Mayor, do you have any other questions or do you feel that they were answered?
I feel like they were answered. You know, my questions was about FDOT. You know, I heard Bonnie Miskell mention it, and I wanted to know if that was true, if we have data to back that up, what were the reasons for it? Because the question that was brought up earlier was, were there competent reasons to close Southeast First Avenue? And if FDOT says it should be closed, and our traffic data, and we can clearly see it's not large enough for all these trucks, and this applicant is making contributions to improve Southeast 2nd and the intersection we spoke of earlier at 6th and the sewage. So yes, that was a very lengthy response, Colin. So I do appreciate.
I apologize.
No, you answered all my questions, and that's what I wanted to get to the heart of, because I'm looking for, is there legitimate data by professionals that suggests that for safety concerns, that really shouldn't have been open in the first place. Safety, you know, obviously that's what we're looking for. And I also want to ask one more thing. There were comments about sewage. And so could you address those? Because there were some comments that questioned the validity or the accuracy of your staff report. And I'd like to explore that a little bit.
Right. The comment was concerning the capacity. So the sewer system has plenty of capacity for this project and all of the other projects planned in this area. The utility has planned for these projects for many years and have built the infrastructure. Some of the piping systems that are in place are older systems, and when projects are built, we like to try to replace those because it's easier to replace them when a project's being built than waiting till it's finished because they're already constructing in the area. So we do try to tie those, but there's plenty of capacity. The issue that Ms. Oyer brought up, and she was accurate, it was during a time period when, if you remember 3 months ago, when we had the major rains and we had serious flooding all over town.
Yes.
That backup was actually caused by flooding in a different location that happened to just because the sewer system was being inundated with water at the time due to a flooding situation. That's what that came from. It had nothing to do with the capacity of the system to handle the actual sewer flow. It had to do with the I&I that was happening in another location in the city. And that actually is being addressed. And actually there's another report coming to y'all shortly about this flooding and what the utility is working on projects to fix some of that. But the I&I and the sewer system, they're working on right now to eliminate that.
Flooding in that area is important. Are you saying that what you're doing now is going to reduce flooding at that marina intersection?
So this project will contribute to taking some of the water off that intersection. The flooding at that intersection, at the Marina Village intersection, is really generally caused through the high king tides. That's when it gets the worst, when we have the rain events and the high king tides. It's going to be difficult to completely solve it without raising the road. We're looking at that as part of the intersection improvement, is actually increasing some heights. But again, you have existing businesses that you can't flood. So until those businesses are all redeveloped over time, which over time, all properties redeveloped, doesn't last forever. We'll be able to make additional improvements. The king tides are something that we're struggling with like every other coastal city, and it has nothing to do with development. It is totally, it's a climate change issue that sea levels are rising slightly, and those are causing the king tides to come up. And these roads were designed 50, 60 years ago at a lower elevation. So I can't say it's going to completely solve it, but this development right now, if you look at all the paved surfaces on there right now, that directly goes to surface flow and contributes to it. All of that water now will be captured in a stormwater system and sent to another location. So it'll take that much water off of this location. So will it assist in lowering it? Yes. Will it solve it? No. The only thing that's going to solve it is raising the road and raising some of the old structures that are there so we can't do it now until those structures are raised. And that's something we're going to talk about in our stormwater report, of some of the challenges we have as a coastal city. And I'm going on too long, but that's one of the reasons why we're working real hard on some coastal standards, resiliency standards, and we're partners with 7 or 8 other cities along the coast to work on those. And for that very reason is how do we fix this problem? And it's not a development problem. It's not really the existing businesses problem. It's a fact that's happening, and we're going to have to address it. And so we're trying to figure out ways to address it. But the short answer is yes, this will help, but it's not going to solve it.
Colin, I appreciate those extremely lengthy and thorough responses. I really do. You've answered my primary question about the closing of that road and the safety concerns.
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Romulus.
may I simply just ask a follow-up question to one of the questions that was addressed or asked by Ms. Oyer? Colin, in regards to Ms. Oyer's concerns with the foundation and all of that, can you maybe elaborate on that as well in terms of, is it simply because their building is an older building, or is there, validity to the concern, and is there any way to mitigate that?
Okay, so there's two. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to give you another lengthy answer. I apologize up front.
No, that's fine.
There's 2 issues here. One is the city does, when we review the permit plans, we do look at how they're going to compact, what they're going to do, and we do look at and how they're going to impact the businesses around them. We generally add conditions to permits when we think there's going to be an issue where they have to put vibration monitors out and they have to monitor that vibration. Most contractors do that anyways because they understand these types of claims. Now, going to the question about the claims are between 2 private property owners. So the city is not one of the claimants on those. Is if a private property believes another private property owner damages, and I'm not going to give you the legal, I'm just giving you from staff's point of view. Jim can maybe answer the legal side, but it's a private issue to a private issue. And generally what happens is the one private party goes to the other private party and they deal with the issue. But what the city does is try to ask the contractors and require the contractors to put out the vibration monitors where necessary. So it really helps both parties determine whether or not there was something that would have exceeded the allowable vibration while they're compacting soils. Also, it depends on the type of construction that they're going to do, whether they're doing long answer, sorry, whether they're doing vibratory compaction, or they're putting it on piles, or depending on how they're going to do it. And again, that's all reviewed in that permitting stage, and it has to meet all the Florida building codes, national building codes, and it has to be signed and sealed by a professional structural engineer. We don't just take a set of plans and say, hey, you can go build what you want. It has to be designed by a professional engineer who falls under the state statutes of having to design for the safety of everyone around the project. And so the long answer short is if there is damage, it's between the 2 private property owners. The city attempts to put requirements in there to protect both property owners while construction is occurring. We do the same thing with erosion control. We do the same thing with traffic control and everything else. All of those issues addressed during permitting.
Thank you, Colin, for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Commissioner Katz, did you have any final comments before we move for a motion?
Yeah, thank you. And I'll be brief because there will be a second reading and a time to speak to staff before that meeting and during that meeting. But I would just want to preface all of this with kind of the generic explanation that, there are valid positions on both sides of every argument or disagreement. And clearly there are, sides of this. There are residents for and against this. There are businesses for and against this. I'm in support of this project, with some shaping around the edges to still be done. But I think that it's important to note that, and I'm just responding to some comments that were stated by some individuals. We do have a planning review board. They did not support this project as presented, but that board consists of a handful of residents who were appointed by the 5 members of whatever city commission appointed them, versus the city commission, which were elected in public elections by thousands of voters. So I just want to make sure, one of the initial speakers against the project said that, our independent experts had not supported this project. That's contrary to all the facts. Every expert has said that the traffic pattern would be improved by this project. The only group that didn't support this was a group of a handful of appointed residents, and I respect their opinion. But the advisory boards serve at the will of the commission, and it ultimately is our responsibility to take their recommendations and do with them as we please. So I just wanted to make clear that, this elected body is a group of residents who live in the city of Boynton Beach who have been put in our position to make these decisions by thousands of other residents, based on our established positions and our campaign planks and our previous voting record, much of which has to do with downtown redevelopment, because that's been something universally viewed as overdue in this city for 20 or 30 years. So I respect the divergent viewpoints that have been expressed. I know that's not going to make anybody happy who's not on what's perceived to be the winning outcome of this, but I just wanted to make clear that, this body takes the expert advice of our staff. They take the input of our residents, which can be conflicted, as I stated, and we're making decisions, I believe, each of us in what we believe is the true best interest of the community in this particular part of the city in this instance. So I just wanted to say I respect the opinions that are not in favor of this or have objections to it, but at this time I see an opportunity for smart growth, for growth that is organic and local. Many of the property owners associated with this project are not quote unquote developers. These are longtime residents and business owners who have owned these lands for decades and tended to them and operated businesses on them during the worst of times. And now we're approaching an economic revitalization of our downtown, and our local residents are getting in on that and going to benefit from that and help create jobs and opportunities. So this is, when we approved 4 years ago, the CRA consolidated downtown plan, I wouldn't have imagined that literally all four corners of this activity node, as we refer to it, would be ready to boom, to blow up in the vision that the plan drew up. So I'm excited about the future, and I'll cut myself off there. And I just wanted to make clear that, I think everybody on the board, however they vote ultimately on this, respects the many viewpoints, but the decision that anyone makes up here is always based on what they believe is in the best interest of the city of Boynton Beach. Thank you.
Thank you. And I feel that, this is, an 8-story project across the street from an 8-story project. I feel that the experts have provided sufficient evidence of what is needed for the abandonment, for the rezoning. And so with that being said, may I have a motion to approve ordinance number 20-034?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Commissioner Romulus. Seeing no further discussion, may I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Grant,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Penserga,
They didn't hear you, it seems.
Oh, that was a yes.
thank you. Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Yes.
and Commissioner Romulus.
Aye.
It's 5-0.
Thank you. May I have a motion to
Thank you.
approve ordinance number 20-035?
So move.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Penserga,
Yes.
Commissioner Katz,
Yes.
Commissioner Hay,
Aye.
Commissioner Romulus,
Aye.
Mayor Grant.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0.
And may I have a motion to table the approval of the site plan to the next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor state so by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And and Jim, regarding my conditions on approval, is that something we would need to have put in for the site plan at next meeting?
That would be on the site plan, yes, Mayor. I believe staff will take your comment and incorporate it, and then the commission will vote on that condition next time.
Thank you. Now we move on to the city manager's report. I believe we got some new people working here in the city of Boynton Beach.
Yes, Mayor, we do, and I'm delighted to introduce a few folks to you. But firstly, you may hear a little bit of a different voice clerking for our meeting tonight, and that is our deputy city clerk, Tammy. I don't know if you all know yet, but she was promoted and appointed to the deputy city clerk position recently. So Tammy has been with us for about 12 years now, and I haven't even had a chance to actually talk to her, but to say congratulations, Tammy, and you're getting thrown right into the fire because Crystal's going to be having a baby very soon, so she gets to hold the fort down for quite a few months here. But congratulations and welcome to the department head team. And I'd like you all to know that. Yes. And
Thank you, Laura.
And congratulations again. And second announcement, we have Glenn here, and we've pulled him up on the screen. Glenn Weiss is our new public art manager. Yay! And Glenn comes to us from Jacksonville in their public art program, but has served, and I will be very brief. I have bios on all of them, but I want him to just be able to say a couple words, but comes with us with over 30 years of experience working with cities and counties and museums, and as both a consultant and a public art manager, and has also teaches, and I don't know if you're still teaching, but has taught architecture and urban planning at FAU. So Glenn's very familiar with our program. He lives right next door in Delray. He's ready to hit the ground running, and already has. He started with us last week, and so I'd like to just have him to say a couple words and welcome.
Well, thank you, City Manager. Anyway, I'm really pleased to be here. I think this is a terrific city. I have to say, you have an amazing staff in terms of their friendliness and willingness to kind of welcome me in, and I really appreciate that. And I look forward to helping the city move forward with their public art program.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
And
Lauren,
lastly, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
I wanted to say, I was literally just in Jacksonville last, 2 weeks ago for the holidays, and I wish I had known that you were coming because I would have paid a little bit more attention to the artwork. But from what I did pay attention to, it was very nice driving through downtown with my family up there. So looking forward to what you'll contribute here in Boynton Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and lastly, Glenn, we're going to take you off camera and pull up our new fire chief, Jim Stables. Okay, good. You're still there, and I hope you guys come back tomorrow.
Absolutely.
But anyhow, I want to welcome Jim to our team. He is our new director of fire and emergency services. I call him fire chief. But Jim comes to us from Tennessee, where he served for the last 3 years as a chief, but has served, I won't say too many years, over 30 years in the fire service in Florida. Jumped right into the profession right after high school to become a firefighter, and has a lengthy bio that I won't read to you, but I will certainly be happy to share with any of you any of the bios of our new team members. But we are delighted to have him on board, and I think even more so, probably someone who's even more delighted than I am is Fire Chief Ray Carter, Interim Fire Chief Ray Carter. And before we end, I do want Jim to say a couple words. I would like to recognize Ray as well, but go ahead, Jim.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's been a whirlwind for the first 2 days I've been here, and I'm really excited to get down to work. So thank you for selecting me. What a great community this is, and I'm looking forward to getting busy.
Good. And we'll have plenty for you to do, no doubt about it. Before we close, oh, yes, Woodrow, sorry.
Hey, Jim, what part of Tennessee?
I was in Johnson City.
Ah, okay. Very good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
And I can't end the night, Mayor and Commission, without thanking Ray Carter. You know Ray, and had served our city for so many years as an assistant chief and our fire chief, and he knows it because I've thanked him probably a million times since he's been here for bailing me out and helping us out in a difficult time. But Ray, thank you. You can't go far because we must certainly keep in touch, but you've come in, you stepped right in without missing a beat and held our department down and kept us going and got us through so much between COVID and everything else. I just personally want to thank you, and I want the commission to have the opportunity to do the same.
I'm here. Am I unmuted?
You're here.
Yep, we hear you, Ray.
Okay. Again, truly my pleasure to come back and assist. It was a difficult situation. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had days when I thought that I had lost my mind when I agreed to do this, but there were also many, many, many days that reassured me that the staff here, was supportive, that they were willing to work hard to get through the tough times. And every step of the way, I was supported by City Hall, by the firefighters here at the fire department, by other department directors in the work that we had to do. So again, it was my pleasure, and I'm happy to be retiring again, but I truly will not be far, and I will keep in touch. Thank you all for your support.
And as Ray knows, I have his cell phone number, so he probably has me blocked at this point, or will come next week. But yes, we will most certainly keep in touch. And thank you again, Ray.
You're quite welcome.
And welcome,
Lori.
Chief Stables. Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Please leave the man alone after this, okay?
I have every intention of doing so, and you tell Chief Stables that's right.
Enjoy your retirement, Chief. Thank you very much.
We're in very good hands.
It's kind of like, if we had the full audience here with everybody, we'd be giving you a standing ovation. So I still want to do that, though, because you just did such a tremendous job for the city of Boynton Beach.
Yay.
Thank you all very much. But at my age, it's past my bedtime. Let's move on.
All right. So much.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
All right. As for Jim, moving on to legal.
Yes, Mayor. Florida statute requires me to request closed door sessions with you publicly, which I'm doing tonight. And I'm requesting a closed door session in the City of Boynton Beach versus JKM BTS Capital LLC case. Earlier today, I provided the members of the commission with the defendant's answer and affirmative defenses. So we do have things to talk about. I think we could probably conclude our discussion in about an hour if we get started in a timely fashion, and I leave it to your discretion to decide whether that should be before or after the next city commission meeting or at some other special time. But in any event, the meeting will have to begin with an open public meeting before we could recess into the closed door session.
And so the recess closed door session, is that all allowed to be virtual?
Yes, it is, Mayor.
Okay. So I'm thinking whether it's the Tuesday next week or the following Tuesday in front of the city commission meeting or after, depending on what time, I believe would probably be the most convenient for me.
For me, I would prefer, Mayor, before our next meeting, the commission meeting. How long would it take, Jim? About an hour?
Yes, sir. An hour should do it.
And I think we ought to have it at, somewhere around 4:30, just before our next commission meeting.
I'd support that.
I support it as well. 4:30.
4:30.
I'm fine with
Okay. And this is
All right, thank you very much. I'll coordinate with the clerk, make sure the proper notices go out, and remind you again a day or so before that meeting that we're going to start early. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we close tonight's meeting, the vaccine issue, I did speak with Lucia from Commissioner Weinroth, Vice Mayor Weinroth's office, and she stated to me that there's like 5,000 doses in Palm Beach County for the population of 1.5 million. We saw the news articles for Century Village and Kings Point. That was like hundreds of doses for the thousands of residents, so not everybody got it. She mentioned to me that having a letter from either myself or the city commission, the city manager, to Dr. Alonso to get us a little bit ahead or just know where we stand in regards to the Department of Health's decision on the distribution. It's kind of like, you know, working in advance with the different associations that we have of Hunters Run, Leisureville, Sterling Village, some of the big ones, and also in District 4 as well, with where they have the clubhouses available, so that we can create a rollout for our 55 and older, our assisted living facilities, and that's kind of where, you know, I think we should have something, you know, within the next 2 weeks, so that we can push it out and get some answers, because right now everyone's emailing and calling the Department of Health, but there's really no answers on where they're getting it, the vaccine.
Mayor, I couldn't agree with you more. I do want to disclose that I did speak to County Mayor Dave Kerner about this issue. I also spoke to Bob Weinroth. I spoke to them informally about this. At this point, I'm just waiting for more answers. I do want to mention also that if you've seen that Palm Beach Post article of Palm Beach, they have their own site, and they have already begun, and they've filled up their appointments. So part of me can't help but to wonder, what are they doing that we might need to be doing as well if they got ahead, it seems. So yes, absolutely. If you want to do a letter, I would be in support of that, or anything else that you thought might be effective.
I think it's, you know, if our city manager, our new fire chief, can create some sort of plan, or I guess request to find out what information that they want, look at what Town of Palm Beach did, and just try to emulate that. We do have plenty of facilities available here in Boynton Beach for that. And so, Lori, do you have enough direction?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
May I make one more point, Mayor?
Yeah.
Regarding the Town of Palm Beach, I also read that they have their own appointment system. Right now, the health department just has this cryptic email address, and people are supposed to email them, and hopefully they get an appointment. But if there's a better system and another city is already doing it, we should look into that, because right now it feels like everybody's kind of left to fight on their own. Obviously, not everybody's going to get this vaccine at the same time. There's only so many doses. But I mean, somebody solved this problem, so we need to get on that and see what other people are doing.
No, the analogy I gave is that, you know, it's kind of like flying on that airplane, and now we all want to leave, except there's only one door, and we got a way to turn. So I know that we're all anxious to get the vaccine, and so that we can all gather and go on to what our new reality is.
We have a very high senior population.
Yeah. All right. And so I want to, yes.
Just make sure that you take care of your senior citizen on your commission.
We got one, right?
Amen.
We have an email address for you, Commissioner.
And I'd also like to thank the IT department here for running our great first meeting at our chambers. We have these plastic partitions so that hopefully the rest of the commission will feel comfortable coming in here. Colin, thanks again, and everyone that is here for our first city commission meeting in our new chambers. All right, so Alan, can you please provide us with a closing?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Grant. As a reminder, a recorded version of this session will be posted to the City of Boynton Beach's YouTube channel. Links to that channel are available on the City of Boynton Beach's website at boynton-beach.org. This concludes today's meeting. On behalf of Mayor Grant and all of our elected officials, the city manager and city staff, thank you for attending today's City of Boynton Beach Commission meeting. Be safe and have a great evening.
Good night. Meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.